discussing this concept today, even though students who missed last week class, don't worry about it. Our Google class, which is our Google class, is here, and everything which we cover is being recorded. So like open session content is recorded, last week content is recorded also. So you didn't miss anything. You can happy to join and get the recording. Once you get the Google class access, you click on the classwork, and once you get a classwork, you can access all the materials. So we just started. We are going like a little bit slower because we had a good question last time. I really enjoyed the questions you guys asked, and I'm hoping that I will have a lot more questions tonight. But all the recordings are here, and the reason I keep the recording here so you can practice. You know, we are social, right? Sometimes we have family emergency or some kind of work-related challenge, and it is possible that we might miss the class, and that's the reason I give you recordings. In case if you have not watched recording, I would strongly suggest you should watch recording, and it will help you for homework. Every class will have homework, every class will have recording, and every class will have PowerPoint and other digital material as well. So now what we're going to cover tonight, let's start with the main topic, right? So tonight my goal here is to cover some web service and web application related concepts. Now, some of the things I need to cover is called payload. I need to cover a payload, and the most important payload I want to cover is JSON. Many of you may not know JSON, but I give you guarantee you will understand. So Java, script, object, notation, right? Again, because you don't know, don't be scared. Because you don't know, don't be scared, because these are things I'll day-to-day activity in life. Within 5-10 minutes, you will be very clear. There's nothing hard in this class. It's all about understanding. Think about any time when you go to any new places, you may have new things to learn. So we'll talk about that with JSON. That is very important if you're going for cloud, because many people in the cloud world, they will use payload or they will use word called request and response. So we'll talk about that. Then we'll talk about a big interesting concept called web application versus web services versus microservices. Interview questions, loaded questions people normally ask, and you must know about how to explain that concept. Then we'll do some lab. So we will install a couple of software. I did put the software link in the Google class, but in case if you have not installed, it's not going to take a long time. In few minutes, you will be able to install. We will install a couple of software called, one is we will install is AWS CLI, which is called command line interface. So command line interface is one of the easy way to do the AWS automation. If you are going for AWS career, you must love CLI. CLI is the administrator aspect. If you are going for what you call cloud, CLI is one of the easy way to do your work done. But there is another way you can do, which is called web console. So web console through, we're going to do lab. So we'll create because in my Power BI class, students ask me question, can I install Power BI in AWS, in Windows machine? So I'm going to do that step by step, a lab. So that way you all can understand, and we will record the session and we'll share with Mac user, especially those who have Mac machine. They will love it because they cannot install Power BI in the Mac machine, but they can install Power BI in AWS and Windows machine. And if time permits, we'll do software installation called PuTTY, and using PuTTY, we'll be using AWS Linux instance also. So there are a lot of interesting things we're going to cover. In case if I don't cover all the content, we'll continue from next week as well. So a lot of things to cover. It is very interesting. Most of the time, this is called cloud architecture. Now, cloud architecture is, if you ask me, it's a soft topic. When you go for interview, you will be asked a lot of questions just to make sure you understand cloud architecture. In exam perspective or certification perspective, around 15% questions come from cloud architecture. If I go for interview right now, and if I do not read anything, and if I just go with the cloud architecture knowledge, I can give you guarantee I will pass the interview. I do not need to know in and out commands. because in cloud aspect, no one asks command because they know you are going to figure it out. You're going to search in Google. So no one will ask you how the command works. They will ask you architecture. Now, cloud architecture will take me around 6 weeks to cover. So it's not going to be easy. I cannot cover all in one day, but each week there is a different type of architecture I will cover. And trust me, I will not just say like that, but I'm very good what I do because the organizations where I work, we support millions of customers, and we do high velocity of data processing. So when I say high velocity, think about that you are getting data, which is terabytes of data you get, and you have to process in less than a minute. This kind of things normally people don't imagine, right? Think about when you're driving car and you make a simple detour and car will read out or GPS will read out. Think about the 10 seconds it takes. 10 seconds it takes to read out, right? From entire United States map, that processing speed itself is amazing. And those type of high fidelity, high velocity data processing I do, and most of the things we do in cloud. So we'll talk about that as well. Your role is to stop me if you are not clear. Sounds good? So a lot to cover in case if you want water or coffee. Sazan, if you need water or coffee, help yourself because you are, I'm fully energetic, right? Making sure I'm remaining energetic for next 3 hours because you already tried 2 times, boom, boom, and it hurts already. So make sure everyone is energetic. Okay? Cup of coffee is always needed because this is a very, very interesting and a soft topic. More energetic and your battery is fully charged, you will do awesome job. Okay. So let's start with the first topic of the day, web service and web application concept. I already have all those things in our PowerPoint. I'm going to quickly go through that so you will understand that concept as well. So where did I go? Slide. Oh, did I stop there? Not open. No problem. I'll open the slide. It's in PowerPoint, and this is in a Google Class. Everything what I'm teaching right now is coming from Google Class only. So here you go. So last week we started this concept. However, we did not cover this slide. So I'm going to go over some of the things, cloud architecture. There are a few things everyone should know. When application started long time back, we are talking about 1997, where web application started, which is called .com. 1997, .com arena started. That time, this concept was very popular called three-tier architecture. Three-tier, and some company called N-tier architecture, or some company called distributed architecture. So sometimes you may see this in a job description, distributed. So when you say distributed, it's nothing but divide and conquer. So distributed architecture means you can see database layer, application layer, and these are layers. This is very popular in our industry. Many companies are still using this type of three-tier architecture. Now, database architecture, where you want to secure. So you add here firewall, firewall. And if you have two firewall, then this become more secure. Now, from here to here, this is called connections, which is called network. So part of this class, not today, in coming class, I'll show you how to secure this thing. This is called from data. If you want to access database, no one from outside world should access data. They only can go through this layer. So you allow these kind of traffic. So this is, if you're allowing this kind of traffic, it's called inbound traffic. Inbound means allow in request. And if you allow this side of the request, then it's called outbound request. Make sense or not? Inbound and outbound. Now, you may need to know how I should do that. So in cloud, this concept is called security group. Speak with me. Security group. In an old fashion, we used to call firewall. Make sense? So in old fashion, we call firewall. In a cloud world, we call security group. So you will be asked a lot of questions in interview and certification exam. How do I control or configure inbound traffic, outbound traffic? The answer is security group. Now, security groups are controlled with three ways. The first one is the application. What kind of applications protocol you're using? Application protocol. So like example, many websites you're using HTTP. So if you say I want to allow HTTP traffic, then you have to add incoming rule if you want to allow. But by default, cloud follow DD. Default, deny by default. Deny by default means by default no traffic is allowed. Speak with me. No traffic is allowed. So there will be a question in your exam. Does cloud is open? Cloud is actually locked down. What is that? Lockdown. Cloud does not allow any traffic. So you are opening certain type of protocol. Hey, this protocol is allowed. It means you are the one who's opening the door. By default, cloud is locked down. Why? Security reason. Second thing, what kind of traffic will damage the most? HTTP traffic is not going to damage because it's a web traffic. Web traffic is normally good. But if you are going to connect from your machine to this machine, if you're connecting this machine to this machine, that traffic is called SSH traffic. SSH stands for secure shell. Secure shell means from this machine, I'm trying to connect to this machine. These traffic are very, very dangerous because if you allow this traffic, they may hijack your machine. So ideally in industry, you try not to have SSH traffic except from your machine. No one should be able to connect to the machine. Why? Because SSH means just like you're giving somebody your bank account and bank locker. You're giving to someone. If SSH traffic is allowed, and if they have the access, they can hijack all your cloud. So the most danger thing you can ever do is share your SSH username, password, or key. Then you're open. Anybody can hijack and create a problem. So far, so good. So first control you do through SSH or protocol. Sorry. The second thing you may want to control what kind of port you want to allow. Port. What kind of port you allow? First is the protocol, and second is the port. What port you want to allow? So just like we have a sensor, right? Sense, we can see, we can taste, we can listen, we can speak. Same thing. Same thing, a machine can access traffic at particular port. So example, if you say, I'm not going to allow this port, it means that traffic cannot come in. So sometimes you may not know the protocol, but you know the port, then you can control the port. Think about in America, if someone wants to come to USA and they fly, then they come to airport. And if they come to like some kind of big like ship or other thing, then they go to certain harbor, right? So that is called entry port. You have to check that, and you can say you are not allowed, means that is kind of secure. So you need to think about, do you want to control protocol or you want to control port? Make sense or no? The third thing, when you are doing this type of thing, you can also control certain type of IP address. IP address. IP means like example. This is also a question in your exam. Can you say that Saturday, Sunday, no one should be able to access machine? Why? Saturday, Sunday, no one should be able to access because you don't want anybody to access from home. Because, or you can say only you can access from company network. So you kind of control them. So most of the time, what happened? Most of the time, people open up. So like example, if you allow anyone from anywhere, then you don't know who is doing what. Yes or no? So most of the time, what company does, they say, okay, you are admin. From your IP address, you can access. But if someone else has other IP address, they cannot access. So example, Ryan is using his gaming machine. If I know Ryan is using the machine from home, I will not allow. But if Ryan is in company, I will allow. So those kind of control you can do. So let me repeat. You can control access, incoming access. First is through protocol. Second is port. Third is IP address. Fourth is day and time. You can control day and time. If it is a Monday today, you're allowed. But Tuesday and Wednesday, you're not allowed. Make sense? You can also say, oh, it's Monday, 8 to 5, it's allowed. And after that, you're not allowed. Pretty good. Now you may say, but how you can do that? I I have never heard about this thing in a CCNA, because those who have studied CCNA, in CCNA, you have a simple thing, allow or not allow. Allow or not allow. But this kind of thing, Monday you are allowed, Tuesday you are not allowed, Monday 8 to 5 you are allowed, and this is a very interesting way you can control. So if somebody asks, traditional security is better or cloud security better, which one is better? Cloud security. If your machine is more secure than machine in cloud, which one is secure? Machine in cloud is much more secure. So some people have some kind of myth that if I put my data or machine in cloud, I will have security problem. I would say no. Cloud security is much more secure than company network or personal computer, because you have a much more granular level security control. Now you say, but what is granular level? Granular level means I'm going to say something which is very different. Remember that. Old fashioned, you are doing control with RBAC. RBAC stands for role-based access control. Role-based. So example, if you are admin, you are allowed everything. If you are normal user, you're allowed only one thing. So that's all you can do in old fashion. So if you are using like not network control, you have a couple of choices. You're allowed or you're not allowed. That's pretty much it. But when you're allowed every day. You're allowed every hours. But you are not having that control. But when you use cloud use very different concept. Cloud does not use RBAC. Cloud use ABAC. ABAC stands for attribute-based access control. Speak with me. Attribute-based access control. Attribute means your name. If your first name is Tom, you're allowed. And your last name is Patel, you're not allowed. You can do that level. You can say, oh, you are using Windows, you're allowed. Mac, you're not allowed. Oh, you're using home network, you're not allowed. Office network, you're allowed. So I can have what, who, where, when. I can use all. What you're trying to do, you're allowed or not. When you're trying to do, you're allowed or not. Who, you're allowed or not. Where, you're allowed or not. So that type of granular level control you can do in cloud. And such kind of details, you can do it. Now don't be scared. In a real life, you have enough time. In exam, they are not going to ask you tough questions. The only thing they will ask you, is there a difference between RBAC versus ABAC? Yes or no? Yeah. Which one has a much more granularity? ABAC. ABAC stands for attribute access control, where you can control everything. But role-based control, either you have it or you don't have it. Make sense? Now you may say, but I don't have CCNA. I am not a networking guy. I never control like routers, switches and all. How am I going to do? Good news. On old fashioned, in order to control the access between machine, you normally use router. And router, you configure certain rules normally. In a cloud, you don't have access to the router or switches. You don't have access. So technically speaking, physical access is impossible. So we are going to use software-driven network. Speak with me. Software-driven network. So if you are going for Azure Cloud or Google Cloud or AWS Cloud, they all use SDN, software-defined network. Software-defined network means you're not going to write any command. You're just going to click some here and here, and everything is done internally through command. Who write the network? AWS write network. Who write the network? Azure write the network. Who write the network? Google write the network. You just click it and internally it will do that. Now, how do I educate SDN? SDN means software defined network, and that I will say, hey, incoming, allow. This one, not allow. We are going to tell, and software will do the necessary control for us. Make sense or not? So today, we're going to configure that. So you will understand how it works. Sounds good? Now, what is SDN? Software defined network in easy language, very simple language. What you want to control. Very simple. What do you want to control? Application level control, protocol level control, port level control, IP level control, network level control, time level control, or location based control. You can say that. You can say if you're coming from Germany, not allowed. You're coming from Russia, not allowed. So you can control like even location also. So when like anytime security challenge happen, people cut it off some of the traffic from some country because it's so easy in cloud. Make sense? And that is nothing but educating SDN what to do and what not to do. SDNs are very easy to configure. And when you understand SDN, you are now replacing anyone who has a 15 years of experience in networking side because they do 15 years by writing command. You can do a couple of clicks and you're done. You need a 15 minutes to do so. Sounds good? Okay. Now we talk about second thing. Whenever in a cloud, please understand cloud is designed for failure. Listen carefully. Designed for failure. So now this is a very awkward word, designed for failure. What does it mean? So when you think about cloud, you always think about failure. Why? Things will go wrong. So here, if this goes wrong, then it's called SPOF. SPOF. This acronym I'm using, it's not I am having a hobby. It's not I'm having a hobby to use acronym. More acronyms you know, more professional you become. Okay? And I'm not going to teach you thousands of acronyms. I'm going to teach you 50 plus. That is enough for your lifetime. But if you do not know this acronym, then you will be like level 1. And if you know the acronyms very well and its meaning, you can straight go to level 3. This level 3 will give you 150,000. Level 1 will give you less than 100,000. The difference between the terminology. See, I can easily do labs, I can easily do slides, but that's not my style. My style is you take the class, you get tremendous value. But tremendous value only comes if you work along with me, which is the homework, lab, and project. Make sense or no? The SPOF is a very important question during interview, which is called single point of failure. In a normal architecture, people don't really consider that because there is no force. There is no force. So single point of failure in a normal architecture, it is possible because you use one database server, you use one application server, one machine. So you can see here, if this machine goes down, your single point of failure. If this database goes down, your single point of failure. So here, there are two reasons you can go down. Yes or no? In a cloud, it's quite different. In a cloud, everything is minimum 2. Everything is minimum 2. So example, I have one machine and I have two machines. I have one database and two. So if I have one machine goes down, I can still survive. And if I go one machine, I'll survive. And many of you will be smart and say, what if I have two machines goes down? That's a valid question, right? Then AWS will automatically create another machine. Make sense? AWS gives you guarantee, no matter what happens, I will never get you single point of failure. And this is the beautiful part called SLA, Service Level Agreement. AWS gives you guarantee 99.99 times, I will never have single point of failure because I designed for failure. AWS automatically detect there is a failure, it will start a new machine for you. And single point of failure is almost impossible in cloud unless you do wrong. So even a basic person can blindly go to AWS and have higher availability. Speak with me. Higher availability. So this is the architecture concept. Higher availability. Now you said, what is this? Higher availability. Never heard about it. Available means whenever I want, it is available. So example, if I access my machine, it is available. Again access, morning time, evening time, noon time, anytime I access, it is available. So if I want to improve my high availability, I need to have more machine. AWS gives you guarantee that I'll give you higher availability. So that is the reason people go to cloud. Now Azure gives the same way. Now if you say I need a SLA, please understand 99.99, then it will add more machines and more different locations. Because if one location has a hurricane, then other location can be still successful. If one has, let's say, some kind of earthquake, then other location will be fine. So when you use 9.9, which is called 4.9, speak with me, 4.9. Now 4.9 is a like pro language. So if you use 4.9, you are actually saying 99.99. Makes sense? But if you say 99.99, means you are a beginner. Makes sense or not? So in industry, people also use 6.9. What does it mean? It means 99.9999 and 9. Normally, people will not use this. They will use 6.9 or 4.9. Now let's talk about story. 4.9 is a good availability, but not a greater availability. Example, 4.9 means you may have a downtime around 40 minutes in a month. 4.9 means. But if you have 6.9, means you will have only 4 minutes in a whole year. So think about which one is better. 6.9 is better, but 6.9 it means you will invest a lot of money, because if you want to improve your availability, you're paying cost. So cost and availability is a trade-off. Now question is where I need it. So sometimes you have like a real good application, like example Amazon.com, example Bank of America, JP Morgan. That's kind of application require higher availability because per second they do millions of dollar transactions. Example, if you are doing Chicago merchandise market, can you guess per minute how much transactions happen? Just a New York exchange, New York stock exchange per minute. Guessing game? Don't say yeah. 1,000? Are you kidding? Millions? In per second, millions. Oh, wow. Hundreds of millions per second. So in minute, I would say billions. How much? Billions. Now, hardly hardly Amazon will charge you $100. Would you not afford $100 per day? Right? Easy, right? Because you are doing transaction per minute, $1 billion transaction, $100 is nothing but peanut for you, right? Yes or no? So such kind of company will go for higher availability. This is called mission critical. Speak with me. Mission critical. So if in interview people ask, would I get a 6.9? You need to ask question, is this mission critical? Mission critical means failure is not an option. You're actually eliminating failure. There is no way you can afford failure. So that's called mission critical. So example, do or die type of situations are there. In that case, it is mission critical. But majority company will not go for 4.9. They normally go for 9 and 9.0, which is 3.9. This is not very affordable, right? Because 3.9 is very affordable because it's not going to increase your cost. Now, availability means uptime. Whenever you access, it is available. So for several, now the question is, if availability is clear, then I need to understand how do I get availability? Okay, I need availability. I understand 4.9. I understand 6.9. How do I get it? So I'm going to show you how you get a 4.9. Okay. So think about that. If I have this setup and if I put two machines, right, and I put this thing in Florida. So if something goes down to one machine, I can still survive. If this goes down, I can still survive. But you know, Florida is always having a hurricane and other issue. What if a hurricane happens? Power outage happens. Entire data center goes down. Do you agree or not? So what if I can copy and replicate entire data centers? Maybe in Germany, just an example. So if Florida is down, entire things will work from Germany. Do you agree or not? So if I have similar setup in other region means geography, then I can easily achieve 4.9. So if I tell you, if I need a 4.9, what would be your minimum solution? Minimum 2 data center means, and there should be 2 region. Do you agree or not? If you just use one region, then you are 3.9. Maximum you can get 3.9. Are we understanding? This kind of question will be in the exam. How do I do 3.9? How do I 4.9? Because in 3.9 means you can have multiple machines, but you're still in one region. Cost will be less, but availability also less because you're 3.9. But if that region goes down, you're out of business. If you want multiple region, you have to pay for 2 region cost, and each region you will have two machines. So if one region goes down, you can still survive. This will give you 4.9. So if in your certification exam, if you see word mission critical, or if you see word higher availability requirement, then they are talking about 4.9. I don't think any of your exam, they will ask for 6.9. Okay. So 4.9 is good. So 4.9 means 2 machines and 2 different regions. So each region you have 2 machines, minimum 2 machines, maximum you can have more, but minimum 2 regions you need. Are we clear? Any questions? Right? So now if I ask you a question, very simple question. Let's say you are, just an example, you are working for Nokia and you are a cloud architect and I'm developing an application, maybe phone applications. And now when I develop the application, I'm most likely I'm going to use 3-tier architecture, right? And I ask you, deploy. What would you do? How many copies would you deploy?
That was Nokia's mission.
You are working for Nokia.
So it's mission.
Because of users, right? So you know, 6.9 you will not go, minimum 4.9. So by default, your options should be 2 regions by default, right? But if you say no, we have hardly 10 users, don't worry about it. This is a prototype application. How? Prototype applications. Then what are you gonna do? You will do 1 region, maybe 1 machine, right? Because it's a prototype. If it is going down, it's not gonna be business critical. Yes or no? But if somebody say, hey, we have 1,000 users and they are not that, if we are down for maybe 1 or 2 hours, no problem, then having 1 region is good. Makes sense or not? Because Nokia is an international company, you need to consider at least 4 nines. If it is mom and pop, maybe 3 nines is good. If it is a prototype or development application, 1 region is good. For development, for QA, for performance, you will not do multiple regions. Why? Because you know you have full control when to start, when to stop, and customers are not impacted. Are we clear? So if customers are not impacted, you use 1 region. If your customers are all over the world, minimum you should use 2 regions because it will give you 4 marks. 3 questions will be clear in your exam. Do you think it's hard? Right? Availability is clear. 3.9, 4.9. What does SPOF mean? Single point of failure. And what is DD stands for?
Denied by default.
Right?
No, denied by default.
Denied by default. That's a rule. Denied by default. You don't have permission. You have to enable. And when you enable, the only way you enable right now in cloud is security group / firewall. So far so good. Awesome. Yes, Ayala. Question?
So does the location of the centers matter where they are? Like if you have traffic from all over the world, does it matter if all of them are in the United States? Does it affect like a connectivity or anything like that?
Yeah, so that's a great question. First of all, that question is like example, if your clients are all over the world, that really helps you to decide where you want to put your servers. So example, just an example. Let's say I have world, which is the flat world, right? Let's say I have some customers are in USA, this is USA, and there are some customers in Australia. If that's the case, then I will select Sydney as a region and Ohio is a region, and I'm done. But let's say I have some customers maybe in Russia, some in India, some are in England, then I may need to pick a region which is kind of closer to the maximum customers. So if region is closer to the customer, you get a better performance. But otherwise, that doesn't matter. If you want performance and availability both, then you should go closer to the customer. So example, majority of customers are in England, then you should go closer to the England. If majority customers are in Australia, then you go to closer to Australia. You shouldn't select US in that case. But if you have customer all over the place, still you have to ask question, where are my high critical customers? And go closer. Those who are low provider, then they may suffer a little bit, but we are talking about millisecond. It's not going to be huge problem because AWS is using very intelligent routing. This concept is called GLB. Speak with me. GLB. This is called Global Load Balancer. Global Load Balancer. So example, if I'm traveling, just an example, if I travel from here to India, and if I try to access, do you think my request will come to Ohio? No, it will straight go to Mumbai because that region is closer. Make sense or no? Just like a Google, if you are traveling, if you go to Google, if you go to Germany, Google request will go to the closest server in Germany. It will not come to USA. So they have called GLB, which is defined based on geography. So location perspective, the global load balancer will consider your geography, and based on that, it will route request to the closest region. Right? So yes, location matters. But if your all customers are in USA, then you may select like 2 regions. US has, I think, 4 regions. Pick any 2 regions which is close to the customers, right? This will get you better performance.
Will the exam questions like test you on the legalities, for example?
No,
Like Europe, you cannot
No.
save data outside of
not in this exam, but the cloud cybersecurity, yes. So cloud cybersecurity, yes, they will ask. So this is called the privacy pretty means like contract, legal contract, and there are so many things you need to understand. There are standards you need to follow. Like if you are going multi-nation, then GDPR, right? If you are going Europe and US, then US Europe that you have to follow. If you are going for China versus this China Middle East, they don't allow. So they do not allow data go outside of the world. So in that situation, you need to consider. But in AWS Cloud, you will not see any question like that.
Why I'm asking that is because if you're an architect, then
You do need
have-
to know.
You have
You
to
do
know,
need to know.
and you still have to go.
No,
with the
agree.
cybersecurity guys, right?
Exactly. So you use what effectively security. And that is the second subject, which we call cyber security, right? That's the second subject. The reason we talk, that subject itself is a really, I would say, detail about security. Good news, in a cloud, security is there, but the most security is infrastructure perspective or platform perspective, not data perspective. Like not, I'm talking about the what you call contract or standard perspective from country perspective. There is no question, they will not ask you, but you should know about. As an architect, you should know. Matter of fact, 6 years back, I think 5 or 6 years before COVID, so it means 2017, US government came up with a mandate that if you are working for any cloud related applications for government projects, so NASA, CIA, FBI, then you must have security certification. That's called CSS certification, Cloud Security Alliance. You need must have. It's not a should, must have. So if you are working there, because that's the reason. Because United States make sure the data which you are exchanging or processing, you should know about. Good question. Moving along.
Does cost come into play?
Yeah, absolutely. Yes, cost is a driver because US is expensive compared to other part of the world. So yes, cost, but we are not talking about millions of dollars. We are talking about thousands or hundreds. So it depends, as I said before, business critical application may cost more. Okay. Now, this is where I want you to understand web application versus web service. Please understand. Web application and web service, you all need to understand basic concept. Because many times when you go in interview, I can give you guarantee, interview is a piece of cake if you listen to me and Narendra, listen carefully. You don't have to read hundreds of books. I'm bringing you 15 years of cloud related experience in 15 minutes. There is no reason to read books. Understand the concept. These are soft concepts. So let's understand it. Again, people on phone, I respect highly. In case if you have a question, please do ask. When you raise your hand, I will know. But if you are not clear, always ask question, because that way I want to make sure you all understand. But this concept is very popular question in your interview. First of all, applications, and there is a service. So service normally perform only one task. So example, if I do math, 2 plus 2, which is called math service. If I do multiplication, 2 times 2, that's a multiplication service. So service normally have a discrete function, a specific function. Either you can say check credit score, that's one service, right? Validate a credit card, that's another service. Validate address, that's another service. So service has only one function. If you're a programmer, think about a method, just one method. Service is nothing but a method which is available in a cloud. Just like a calculator, you have plus, which is addition, multiplication, division. So each 4 buttons are 4 different services. So far so good. Now, application, what it does, application stitch those services. Application stitches those services and make easy for the user. So as a user, you can easily interact with the application because application will have picture, graphics, color, style. So user will interact. Service normally exchange data. So service, you really don't interact that much. It requires program. Service interaction require program. So you really don't interact. You cannot press button in service. Make sense? You press button. Anytime you press button, or if you have GUI stands for graphical user interface. graphical user interface, that is in application. You will not have button here. You will not have buttons, so you will have only service. So think about it. If you are accessing Netflix, you all are accessing Netflix. Do you agree Netflix is a service, right? In order for us to access Netflix, you are using TV or maybe your phone or maybe your laptop. And in your laptop, you're using a software. That software is application. That software is application. That software knows how to go and get the streaming from net service. So they use Netflix streaming service, but that application knows how to do it. You are really not pulling yourself. Make sense? So think about service is giving a data. An application is stitching together and creating a nice, beautiful GUI. Make sense or not? Now question is, as a user, can I call service? Answer is yes, but it will not look good. So example, if I have a car which is not working, when I start the car and I normally use steering. Do you agree or not? But if I remove the steering, technically speaking, James Bond movie if you have seen, or maybe a Tom Cruise movie you have seen, they normally don't start the car the way we start. They use two wires and do and start the car. I still don't know how they do it. I always wonder when I will know that. So then I will not have to worry about it. But they start. That time they directly use service, how to start the car. So as a smart person like you can verify service independently. You can verify. But not all people will be able to do that. You can independently verify the service. You can use the service independently, but it will not be usable by normal user. Make sense? James Bond can start the car with the cable, and if that's the way, there is no need for key, technically speaking. But then the car like Chrysler or GM or RDs and all, they realize this is not going to work, so they give you and me a key. Do you agree or not? A nice steering so we can drive the car. I still think most people don't even know how James Bond does, and I don't know. So other people will not. So smart people know certain ways to do, but normal people just use normal way. So normal people interact with the applications and the application interact with the service. Make sense? Now, let me take a practical example. So if I go to Amazon, this is the application. Now you say, well, how do you know this application? Simple thing, GUI, graphical user interface. I can click here, yes or no. I can see the picture, color, style, graphical. So this is application. But when I search basketball, actually, when I do basketball and I press enter, this application is making a call called search. It is calling search service. And if I press enter, it is calling and getting this data. So now when data comes, application display nice, beautiful form. Data is a raw form. You will not understand. Technically speaking, you will not understand. But application understand and make it nice, beautiful. If I click on that, it also call another service, which is called product detail service. So if I click here, it is calling again, getting product detail, but application make it easy for me because I'm a normal user. So normal user interact with the application, but application interact with the service. Make sense? Now, old-fashioned, this concept was not that service. So why we did service? Because service is a reusable component. So today Amazon is using, tomorrow maybe they might have another called Amazon1.com. They will be using the same service because they want to show the same product. Like example, I work for Sears. Matter of fact, I work for Chrysler. So Chrysler, they have three sites: Chrysler, Dodge, and Jeep. Certain things they have reusable. So why to create three times, right? If it is a service, then they create one service and they pass brand called Chrysler, and then service will give you Chrysler data. If somebody Jeep pass, then they pass brand. The Jeep, same service will provide Jeep data. So rather than creating three services, now you are doing all in one service, but you have three applications. Make sense? So the fundamental reason people do service is reusability. Speak with me. Reusability. Make sense? Now service is a discrete part, small, only one thing it does at a time. It doesn't do too many things. So this concept is right now in a market called microservice. Now you say, wait a minute, I'm confused. Service, web application. So let's talk about web application require GUI. Are we clear? You will interact, like if I click here, then I'm using application. But when I click on that, internally it might using service, which I don't know. Now, what is the problem? So let me explain. Old fashioned, everything will be like this. They all in a one bundle. They all in one bundle. The first bundle is database. The second bundle is the logic, which is Java, Python, logic. And third bundle is the web content. So three bundle. First is the web content. Let me just do web here. Web content. The second is the application logic. Second is the application content, which is the programming, Java, Python. And third is the database. Now, I worked for Chrysler a long time back, right? So what happened? In Chrysler, there are, let's say, so many applications. So they created tables here. They keep creating tables. They keep creating tables. They keep creating tables. And then Chrysler is such a big application. So they keep writing logic, and they create so much logic. And this create like that. And then there are so many web content. When they deploy as a one package. And when they deploy, that deploy package is called var. Don't say var, because no one likes var, right? It's called var. So var stands for Web Archive. Speak with me.
Web archive.
Again.
Web archive.
Now, these kind of things you will not read from book because book doesn't teach that way. But in a real life, if you do not know, your cloud knowledge is useless because this is something day in and day out you will use. Web Archive is nothing but a web application. So when you are using Amazon, when you go, Amazon will have a bundle. This is a bundle. Amazon bundle will have Amazon.var. If I go to Facebook, they will have Facebook.var. And if I go to Apple, then Apple.var. Everyone use. That's a web application. So far, so good. But you notice that they started with 2000. I started 2000. They were made 1990. So 1990 to 2010 years, they added so many tables. They added so much logic and they added so much web content, but they keep creating a bundle. So the var is inflated. Inflated means bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. So far, so good, or not? This is, so anytime you make a small change, like example, you made a mistake here, then you have to do all it again. Yes or no? Because any small mistake you do, everything you have to deploy again. Do you guys agree? Because anytime you do mistake, you have to do entire bundle again. Even though one small functionality is broken, you don't have choice. You have to do entire thing again. So this concept in English we call monolithic. Speak with me.
Monolithic.
Monolithic means all or none. All or none. So example, there are 5 teams are working. Please understand, to do their content. 5 teams are doing their content. If one team does mistake, entire team needs to suffer. Do you agree or not? Now think about it. One team is a product search, one is called payment, one is called shipping, and one is called other things. So product search, why product search suffer when shipping has a problem? And why shipping suffer when the payment has a problem? But in monolithic, all or nothing. So this concept was there in industry for 10 years. 2000 to 2000, I would say 15, maybe 14, 2013, 14, I would say. 2000 to 2013, monolithic applications survived. But in 2000, I think 13, there was a paper published, and I would strongly suggest you should read. They call 12-factor app. Speak with me. 12-factor app. Now, please allow me. Some of the words you might be hearing first time. It's not like my problem, it's your ignorance because you are learning first time. So don't worry about it. I'm here to help. But don't say, oh my God, it's too hard. Then this is not the class you should take. I will be very honest with you because nothing is hard, maybe new to you. It's not hard, it's new. In few minutes, everything will be clear. But if you do not know these words, 12-factor, and you are certified, you will not clear the interview. Make sense? Now, how many have heard about 12-factor app? First of all, anyone on phone or anyone, have you heard about 12-factor app? No, right? And if you go in interview, you have done amazing job in certificate, homework, lab, you will come back. But I can give you a guarantee, if you use this kind of word in interview, you look like a level 3, right? So what is 12-factor app? So people say, man, all or nothing is old game. Let's do something differently. And that's why they came up with a model called service model, which is called microservice. So 12-factor app came up with a group or organizations. They say right way to do the things. Because when I was in a counselor, we have hundreds of people. Like hundreds of people work here, hundreds of people work here, hundreds of people work here. But if one person make mistake, all hundreds of people effort is repeated. Because we have to bring it back, which is called rollback, and then we have to deploy again. Roll back and deploy again. Who suffer? Customers suffer. Who suffer? Business suffer. And no one wins because the way application was designed, which is the monolithic base. The question is, what is microservice? So let me now.
Tushar,
Yes, sir.
I'll
Yes,
go
sir.
back to that. Go back. Oh, no.
Yeah. I will go back. I have a picture for you. Yeah, this one.
Okay.
Yes.
So in the request.xml, that is sent from client to the server. There's a web services are included in the request.xml.
No, I think you're talking about payload. I'll cover that in a few minutes. Basically, whenever you use word request, it's a payload. Whenever you do request, it's a payload. I'll cover in a few minutes. But let me complete this concept, and Nikhil, I'll answer your question. So old-fashioned, everything was all or none. Are we clear? Say yes or no. All or none. Because anything's a problem, everything you have to undo and deploy. When I say deploy, means put on server. So like example, you put a copy 1, which is called version 1. You made a change, you deploy version 2. Something did not work, you roll back. And now version 3. So rollback means customer suffer. Rollback means company suffer because company cannot go faster. If one person is slow, like example, this person is slow, entire team has to wait because all or none. So now microservice says, wait a minute. We are not actually all as a one unit. Technically speaking, we are not all as one unit. Do you agree or not? We are actually sliced. So then they say, okay, why don't we slice this thing tiny? And this is the order service. They go independently. And then this is a tiny service, which is like, let's say, shipping service. And this may be a tiny service. Maybe this is the search service. Search has nothing to do with shipping or payment. Do you agree? They can go independently. So microservice concept came like, microservice concept say you can have UI, you can have a data programming, which is service, and database for search only, product search. You can have UI, separate UI, and you can have database for shipping only. You can have database, UI, and service for order only. You can have database, UI for user only. And this concept is right now booming in the market. So when you work in a real field, you will work with 3 people or 4 people. That's your team will be. Why? Because you need one database guy, you need a one programmer, and you need a one UI guy. Make sense or not? And that 3 or 4 member team is one microservice team. In Amazon, if I'm not making mistake, because of some of my friend told me, they have 187 microservices. So approximately they might have 50 to 60 teams. It is possible one team can have 2 microservices. So let's go here. If I go to Amazon now, it looks like on surface looks everything together. But this, if I go here and if I go to cart, so in a cart, there should be a service called cart management. Or if I see here, save item, that's another service. You have UI, this UI, and the data is coming from one services. If I search here product, let's say example, I search basketball. So that's a product search service, which is quite different than other. Makes sense? Each item, like example, if I click here, this is a product detail service. If I go to 5-star here, like example, let me go back here. If I search based on this star, like example, if I search based on star, so that's a special 5-star search service, tiny service. Makes sense? There is a UI, there is associated program, and there is associated database. So total in Amazon.com, they use around 187 services because each service can independently deploy. Because they are tiny service and they are independent, they can deploy during daytime and it takes hardly few seconds to deploy because they are tiny. And because if you're tiny, your agility increase because you're not dependent. Each one can work independently, so machine will go much faster. It is possible one team may need 10 days, another team need maybe 1 hour. Make sense or not? So agility you can accomplish with microservice. So far, so good. Any questions so far? Are we seeing the difference or not? Right? Now, one difference is you get agility. Now, when I say agility means like go to market. Here, you have to wait for everyone. Best example, when you go for picnic, I'm sure you know what I'm talking about. If you go to picnic with 5 friends, they all will be driving in their car, right? And then you're waiting. Restroom you go, you're waiting. The food you're waiting. Maximum time you will spend in waiting. Do you agree? That's called monolithic concept. But if you say, hey, now guys, we all need to meet in Indiana Dune. If everyone drives straight to the Indiana Dune, agility increase. Doesn't matter who start early or late, they all go and start enjoying that. So agility increase when you have a tiny but independent piece. So microservice, the guideline is called 12 factor. 12 factors say everything should be independent. A service should not have a tight dependency with other service. So far, so good. Service should have its own UI, service should have its own database, service should have its own program, and they remain as a smaller bundle. Service should be able to deploy independently. Make sense? Service should be debugged independently. Service, those are like guidelines they provide. That's a 12-factor application, nothing but 12 guidelines, how you deploy microservice, right? I'll put that link. It's just a one-page summary. You just need to read a little bit, but it's nothing but how to get agility. So far, so good. But that's not the only thing you need to consider. Microservice gives you another benefit, which I want to make sure you understand. Think about you going to department DMB. Make sure you listen, okay? Don't do multitasking because you will not understand this concept. I'm giving you real life examples so you will understand. So if you go to DMB, think about that you are in a DMB, especially Wednesday, where you have extended hours, right? Man, line will be pretty long. Do you agree or not? Yeah. It is so long. By seeing the line itself, you say, I don't want to go inside. Why? Especially COVID time, I went because my license was expiring and I wanted to go. Oh my God, the line. I was having a mask and I had another mask, but still I had a fear. I am not going to the DMV. Good news, they were allowing you can drive the car with the expired driver license because of the COVID. But now, situation, there's a 200 people in the queue. Do you agree? Now the one middleman will be sitting in the middle. Say, why are you here? It's a name tag or card name tag. Go this side. Why are you here? Go here. Why are you here? For example, go here. So it continues to do that. Now, if you ask that guy, there are 200 people. Are they equally loaded? That means 70 people come for driver license. Some of the people come for driver license renew. Some of the people for exam. Some of the people for car registration. Are they equal? Or there will be some distributions, some distributions or some kind of distribution challenge. What do you think? Distribution challenge, right? Majority people come for driver license, right? Yes or no? So same thing. If I have microservices, think about it. If I have microservices, let's assume for a second, I have, let's say, A to Z microservices. Do you think all the time I will need a similar load or the load will vary? Load will vary. Why load will vary?
Not all services are needed.
Not all services are equally utilized. So if I am doing a login service and Amazon got 1 million customers, which service will have a 1 million load? Login. After the login, do you think all 1 million will buy? No. If I can come to product search, do I need to log in? So 10 million people will do product search, yes or no? So which one is highly utilized? Product search or login or shipping? Products. If they are unequal, yes or no? Yeah. So microservice gives you that benefit. You can say, you know what? These services are highly utilized. So you can do clone, you can do clone, you can do clone, you can do clone, and you can do clone. So if you do tiny, cloning is not easy because you don't have to clone all at once. So like in this setup, you have to clone entire monolithic, which will take more infrastructure. Here you are cloning tiny portion. You're cloning tiny portion 1,000 times or 100 times, which will take time less and cost less. Yes, what's the question?
So the microservices do run on one language, right? If it's based Java based, all the microservices are running in Java.
What is the question?
Microservices, they're interfacing with the database, correct?
Yes.
And they might be using Java, Python, or C#.
Yes.
Across all microservices, you're only using one language.
No. No, because in one team they like Python, one team like Java, one like C#. Why? They don't have dependency. Remember, they're independent. They may work in the morning, one work in the evening, one work in the noon. They might be working from Australia, one work from Germany. They don't need to have same language. That's the beautiful part about microservices. They're independent. One might be using database Oracle, one may be using SQL Server, one may be using MySQL, one may be using Java, one may be using C#, one may be Python, one may be Angular, one may be React, one may be totally different. There's nothing need to be said because you are talking to them, you're teaching them through web application, and that teaching part is independent. It's completely independent. That's the beautiful part about microservice. Everything is independent. That's why company will hire you if you just know one programming language. And microservice.
So the same question for web service, Tushar. Multiple languages, right, for web service as well.
Microservice and web service are very similar. Web service means only this thing. So whenever we say web service, we are normally talking about this thing. When we say microservice, we are talking about this thing.
Okay. Yes.
Yes. Your UI, your database, and your service. But when you say web service, you're normally talking about this part. But microservice means you're everything, but tiny piece, right? And any other questions?
Like the 12 rules for the 12 application, the 12 factor application. Does it take into account like the cost? Because it visually are using a database, for example, in this scenario for each.
It does not consider cost. It consider agility. Agility means right now, think about a business want to go fast, and monolithic does not allow you to go fast. So agility you get, independence you get, isolation you get, scalability you get, and failover you get, availability you get, debugging capability you get. So those are like 12 factors. They don't think about cost because this company who are using microservices are not small company. Mom and pop doesn't care. They use monolith. But if you go to JP Morgan, if you go to Amazon, if you go to Chase, if you go to Bank of America, Microsoft, Facebook, Twitter, everyone is using Microsoft.
You would be surprised.
Sorry?
You would be surprised.
No, I'm not. I work for most of the big gigantic company, and trust me, the transformations from what do you call monolithic to microservice was started in 2012. Sorry, yeah, 2013. So in 2013 to today, majority companies are switched to microservice. Maybe not idealistic way, but I would say 70-80% they are in microservice. So right now, microservice is not a new word. I will be honest with you. It's been there for 10 plus years. That's why 12-factor app is normally asked. Many job descriptions they will ask. 12-factor knowledge is essential. What does it mean? You should know what is real microservice means. Make sense? Questions? It's interesting or not, right? Because I can quickly go through that, but you will not understand what is 12-factor, right? So that's why I want to go through that. Now, let's talk about web service. Now, whenever we say web service, there are two things comes in picture. One is a service, so you need a provider. And one is a client. The provider provides services and consumer requests the service. So consumer first request and provider give you response. So anytime you have service, you need a two item, provider and consumer. Make sense? Now, why we are talking about it? Because there's a reason I'm talking about it. So let me draw it so you will understand why we are talking about it. See, you are taking AWS class. And AWS class is a cloud. What AWS has done behind the scene, they have created hundreds of services. Each service has its own unique responsibility. Now you are here. Now, when you are here, you are going to talk to cloud, and cloud through you're going to talk to a particular services. Make sense or not? So when you talk to service, you're going to get the result and you get work done. All those 100+ services we are doing is is called cloud offering. AWS has hundreds of services. Azure also has similar services. Google Cloud is still in a maturity. It's not yet developed. Google has maybe 20 plus services. Each service, like it provides a specific unique functionality. So if you do not know services, then you do not know how AWS works. So when somebody say, I'm taking AWS Cloud class, what does it mean? It means you are saying, hey, I'm using AWS Cloud class, means I'm understanding available services. Each service, you need to know how to request and get the response. The request and response for each service you should know. Now you may say, oh my God, I need to memorize 100? Not at all. Easy thing. If I go to McDonald's provide burger service. Do you agree? McDonald's also provide milkshake service. Do you agree? But if I go to Subway, then they provide Subway service. Do you agree? So each store provide a one unique service. Of course, nowadays many people provide many things, but they are known for one service. Do you agree? So each one provide one service. So when I want Subway, I go to Subway store and I consume their service. Same thing. If I need infrastructure, then I will go to a service called EC2, Elastic Cloud Computing Service. What is infrastructure? CPU, memory, hard drive, network, those are infrastructure. Just like your laptop or desktop, CPU, memory, hard drive, network, those are your infrastructure. So you go for that. Now let's say if I want to store storage, then they have another service called S3, simple streaming storage. So simple storage. So you have a simple storage service that is just for storage only. If you say I want to do security, they have another service called VPC. If you say, hey, I want to do programming, then they have machine learning services, right? Kubernetes. So there are many services available. Now in exam, they're not going to ask hundreds of services. They are going to ask 12 service heavily. 12 service heavily. Heavily means if you do not know, you will not pass. I will be very honest. 52 to 54 services they ask. They refer in the exam. But 12 services are extremely important for you to complete the exam certifications. And good news, if you know 12 services, you can easily perform in any industry because other services are very unique. So example, how many of you buy shirts from Nordstrom? At least I don't. I go and see the price tag. I don't buy. I still don't think like I can afford that. One time I went and the shirt was $2,580, and one gentleman was buying, and I curiously asked, why? I can buy the hundreds of shirts if I go to Macy or JCPenney, right? What's the difference? The guy laughed, just laughed. $2,000. Right? It still has sleeves and collar and all, right? So some service is useless for me. Do you agree? Some of you might be drinking Starbucks. I don't drink coffee. So for me, that service is there, but not useful. Do you agree? So even Amazon offer 100 services. Not business are using all 100. They cherry pick. What they do? They cherry pick. But some services are essential. You got to use it. So example, if you have an apartment, if you want to use apartment, then in apartment, what you do? In apartment, you normally have to have lights, means electricity, water, natural gas, like those are essential services. Do you agree or not? But then furniture, you have channels, you have to have TV and all. Those are nice to have, not must to have. So 12 service is must to have. If you do not know, you cannot work. After that, the other services are customized services. But maximum service you will be using, I will be honest with you, hardly 20 or 25. I will not see any reason you will be using all 100 services unless you spend whole your life and you work for multiple companies and maybe 10, 15 years. Make sense? Do I need to know all services? I would not say yes. I would not say yes. Why? Because you don't need to know. Like example, how many of you have seen all 50 states in the United States? Right? We live it. Right? I live in 25 years. I hardly say maybe 13, 14 states I have visited. Maybe 15, maybe 16, but not 50. Why? If I don't need, why would I use it? So it's there, but you don't have to worry about. So knowing a little bit here and there, it's okay, but you don't need to worry about in and out. Are we clear?
Yeah.
Now these services you are going to consume, and when you consume, you are going to consume through request. So that's why you have to know how to send requests and how to get the response. So you're going to get response. So anytime you do request, you get a response. Now there will be a question in the exam. How do you consume these services? So there are three ways you consume the services. Make sure you remember this. This will be question guaranteed. The first thing you consume is called web console. Easiest thing in the world, web console. Anytime you consume the service, easiest thing in the world, web console. This is the favorite part. Everyone likes it. So if you are like a manager or naive or new person in the industry, you use this because it's the easiest thing, web console. The second thing, if you are a programmer, then you use SDK. SDK stands for Software Development Kit. Python, Java, C#. Python and Java people love SDK. SDK means Software Development Kit. Kit in the sense of they give you example. You just do a little bit here and then you're good to go. The software developers, if you don't have a software development background, don't worry about it. And the third is CLI. CLI stands for Command Line Interface. So using this CLI, you can connect with the service. Using this program, SDK, you can connect this service, or you can use your browser, which is called Web Console, and you can connect the service. Question, do I need to know all three? Not really. I personally know all three. Programmatically, if I have need, I use SDK. Maybe 50% time I use SDK, but rest of the 30-40% time I use CLI. 10% I use web. Now in industry, people don't use web console more often because it's a security problem. Because you're typing your username and password and somebody will sneak it, they might see it and they will try to hijack it. So web console is kind of creating a security problem. So people don't use web console. Now you have two choices. So one is the SDK and one is the CLI. CLI, if you ask me, it's kind of easy. Anybody can learn. You don't need a programming. It's just a one line, 1 or 2 line max. You're not writing program, you're writing a command. AWS gives us a good document. So you follow the document and you will be able to do the work. So tonight, when I give you homework, you will have a CLI exercise. You will be doing CLI commands. But CLI, you need to install some software. So we're going to install some software. Again, some of you already have installed, some of you might not have installed. I'll show you. In case if you have questions, we'll resolve it. We'll install in a few minutes so you can see that. If you are having a Windows, no problem. If you have Mac, you have to think differently because there are different ways you can do that. Again, I'm a user for Windows, so no problem. But if you are having a Mac, you may be getting the CLI for Mac also because AWS is pretty advanced. They give you a different way to do that. Now, SDK, we are not going to cover in this class because that is for the person who are going for developer. So if you are going for AWS Cloud Developer, then you go for SDK. But if you are going for business, like if you want to start a business, or if you are going for architect, or if you are going for DevOps, or if you are going for cloud engineer, you will love CLI. And you better love it because this is your life. Most people love CLI. The reason they love it, it's simple, it's easy, it's faster, it's better, and it is appreciated. Industry expect you to know CLI. But if you are going for manager, if you are going for business analyst, if you are going for QA, you do not need to know CLI. You can do your work with the web console, and that's fine. But if you are going for DevOps or cloud engineer, I would request you to know CLI. Though it's simple, it's easy. Once you become a hang on it, it's a piggy bank. You just cut and paste. It's just cut and paste. You're not going to do a lot more changes because almost all commands are ready-made commands. And I'll show you step by step. Sounds good? So right now, I'm kind of curious to do how this will work. So first thing first. So far, any question? People on phone? So far, any questions?
Yeah, one question, Tushar.
Mhm.
So
One
the
of-
request and response are based on that XML format, file format?
Doesn't need to be XML. Request and response are normally JSON format, which is called JavaScript object notation. I'll show you today, so you will understand. JavaScript object notation. All AWS services are actually following a concept called REST service. Speak with me. REST service. REST. Now you say, what is REST? I'm going to cover in a few minutes. Make sure you understand. REST, I'll cover that. There are two types of services, REST and SOAP. I have a small video which covers about REST and SOAP. These differences, in my video, it's there. Again, always remember, I always tell people, career is not a class. Career is not a training, but career is a lifetime learning. Do you agree or not? Now, the way we cover here is a lifetime learning in one class. And that is the reason class become much more important and interesting and useful. But if you think like old-fashioned mindset, like, if you go to school, math, science, English, you're not going to make a career. If you take this class seriously, you can have a job. You don't even need to worry about second class. Trust me. That way we are covering. Because any interview you go, you will look like a preferred candidate if you listen to me and follow this advice. But if you try to teach like hundreds of courses and think I will be expert, there is no way humanly possible to remember all hundreds of courses, right? So learn and get better in that. Now, let's talk about for one thing. Whenever you try to connect, cloud will not allow you to connect directly like that. So cloud will ask, do you have a user in order to connect? So you need to be user. So you need to create a user, and I will show you how to create a user. So when you create a user, AWS asks, this user has to be programmable user. What kind of user? Programmable user. So if you use programmable user, then it works for CLI and it works for SDK. Make sense? So we will be creating tonight programmable user also. So making sure you understand how I'm setting an entire step. It's always good to have complete case study type of thing, because installation itself is art. Some people spend like a days. I can do in 10 minutes, right? Because it's step by step. First, you will install the software, and then you will create the user, and then you will configure it. And I'll show you how to do the command also. So far, so good. Awesome. Now, at this moment, I think we spoke enough. Now let's get started. Do a little bit exercise. Let's do that thing so you will be comfortable. So first thing, let's go to AWS Cloud and create your account. If you don't have an account, create it. So go to Google and then search about AWS console login, right? AWS console login. Look for AWS console login. This is our internet, infotech 123. So console login, right? Make sure you all follow that. These steps are very simple, easy to follow. I requested everyone to create an account. If you have not created an account, you can click create an account. Hardly takes 2 minutes to create an account. So make sure you see on the screen. Always remember, don't lose this focus here. So AWS console login. Now let's click on AWS Management Console. So you're here. Now, in this situation, you first click on the signing to the console. You're going to click on signing to console. Make sense? Remember, first I did AWS console login in case I'm recording the sessions. So once the class ends, I'll give you recording and you can follow the lab also. In case if your computer is not supporting, if you have not created an account, you don't have to be panicked, right? So you can do AWS console login, click on the console login. I normally send you all the agenda, and in agenda I did mention, but you have to read about the agenda and you need to follow that step. In that I ask you to create an account. So you can go to sign in and console. So now when I hear, I already have an account, but those who do not have an account, I would suggest you create an account. So I already logged in. So let me log out first. Sorry for that. I'm already logged in, so I'm going to log out. So first I'll say signing to console. So when I do signing to console, the first time, make sure you see on the screen and follow that. If you do not have an account, make sure you click here and create an account. When you create an account, they will ask you your name, your email, and your credit card details. And then at the end of the day, they will ask you free plan, like free support plan. Make sure you select free support plan, and then you will come to console. Make sure you create an account. This account normally at 12 months free. So you will not be charged just like that. So it's always a good idea to have an account which you can use. Now, I know most of you have created an account because I have sent email a couple of times. In case if you have not created an account, you can follow and it will take a minute or two to create an account. It does ask credit card, so make sure you use your correct email address. This will be used for your certification also. But right now, I don't want to wait too much. I want to make sure I maximize the time because in 10 minutes we'll take a break. I want to make sure we get in. So those who are not having an account, they can create an account during break time also. But make sure you see on the screen. When you create an account, whatever the email you use, you will be using that email address here and make sure you log in as a root user. So when you are selecting root user, write down your email address. So here I can see here I have used my root and my email address here. Make sense? Now remember, anytime you're logging, you're using the root. There is exam question. In a real life, you should select MFA. Now, what is MFA stands for? Multi-factor authentications. So there will be a question in the exam. Whenever you use root user, you must use MFA. Now, we have not set up MFA yet, but in third week, we'll teach you how to create MFA. There are a lot of labs we will do, but there are concepts. Remember, you have to understand the language. So there are concepts I covered today. What is service provider? What is service? What is microservice? So when I use next time, it won't be like a new words to you. I want to make sure you visualize it. So that's why we spend upfront time. And that's my style. First couple of weeks I'll spend making sure your foundation is clear. MFA you must do for the root user because if somebody hijack your account, then they will hijack your cloud. So it's very important that you always use MFA so that way you can have like extra protection. So I have a root user. Yes, sir.
At this stage, it doesn't ask you for MFA.
Sorry?
At this initial stage, it doesn't ask for
At this moment, it is not because we have to configure it, right? So root user, and now you enter your email address, and then now let's click on the next. So when I click on next, it's going to go through this captcha and enjoy the captcha, right? Remember, sometimes it asks you lots of questions, and most of the time I write correctly, but sometimes it's not my lucky day, and it may take a while. Oops. I knew today is not my. I hope. Oops. 4, 7, 3,
speak to you.
3, 7, G, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Get,
XP,
get it
XP.
4,
that way you wouldn't go wrong.
S,
Yeah.
That's
7.
what you have.
Haven't.
Okay, I mean,
Fine.
right? So those who do not have an account, please don't panic, create an account and then follow the steps. The reason I'm recording, so as soon as the class completes, tomorrow I'll give you recording also, right? At this moment, I know some of you are having a, already account and you should be here. If you're not here, don't worry, you should be able to do that. Now, first thing what I'm going to do, I will be creating one user. I'm going to create a user, programmable user, because remember, in order for us to use CLI, you need a programmable user. You will be surprised how easy it is. But I need your help. When I'm covering this thing, there are 3 things I don't want you to do. First, texting and not paying attention. And second is going outside and what did you do, right? And third is even your eyes open, thinking something else, right? So make sure you pay attention because this is like this is a life you will spend and you will not understand because this is the ocean. My goal is to take your hand and slowly navigate it. What you are doing it, many people lifetime have not done it because they don't even know what is programmable user. And you are learning on a first day. It's simple, easy, takes 5 minutes. Okay, so let's get started. Now, first thing first, you are here. You start here IAM. We will cover that in a detail in coming class, but write IAM. Now, every IAM is acronym, identity, access, management. Now, it is a very detailed, it takes itself is a 1 day. Again, I'm not spending 1 day right now. I'm just talking about how to create user. So one small slice I'm covering because I like to make class more useful and interesting. If I go like a certain ways, it becomes a little bit boring. So make sure it be interesting. So IAM. Now it says manage access. So we click on the IAM. So when you click on IAM, you will see the new dashboard. So far, so good, right? You click on that and it's coming. You can see we are not doing programming. We are just clicking here step by step. Now, as you might notice that it does say identity access management. So if somebody asks, what is the IAM? So that is nothing but service. Why would I use that service? If I want to create user, if I want to create a role, if I want to create a group, and if I want to create a policy. User, speak with me, user, role, group, and policy. Now this will be a question in your exam, because just like if somebody asks, why would you go to McDonald's? So mostly people go for coffee, people go to McD, maybe have a fries, like that, but you are not going for pizza from McDonald's, yes or no? Every store has a certain service. Same thing, this service can only create user, group, role, and policy. But you can say, can I create infrastructure here? Answer is no. So each service has a certain functionality. So IAM is a very powerful service. If you do not know IAM, you cannot work. And this is one of the 12 services, right? We are going to do in detail in coming class, but don't worry about it. Right now, focus is create the user. Are you guys ready? So now click on the user. So when you click on the user on the left side, sometimes right and left is a challenge for me. So bear with me, just see here. So you can see users. And when you click on users, you will see this part here, right? And so when you click on user, I'm going to create add user, right? The reason I draw it so you can follow it, right? So if I click on add user, it will give me options like this. Right? I'm not going really fast. I'm just showing you stepping and all so you can follow that. Now user, because today is the date, what do you call it? January 10. So we'll say Jan 10. That's my user, Jan 10. That's my user. Don't go too fast because sometimes it's like, when you go to water park, right? You want to go fast. You want to go and jump. You want to have play. Here you will be lost. Okay, so don't go. You will not come back, and I may not come and find you. Okay, you will remain there, and after a while I'll come and pick you from parking lot. So don't go too fast because redo is too complex here. So make sure you remain with me. We're gonna go together, right? So Jan 10. Now this will be an important thing. Do you see here very clearly it says programmatic access? And if you read carefully, it does say CLI and SDK. This says console. Are we creating user for console or are we creating user for CLI? CLI. Should we check both or one? Always one. Make sense? Don't just like blindly select. If you select blindly, then this guy can log into console and create a mess. If you do this, you are restricting that user only can access through API or CLI or SDK, means programmatically. So let's click on it. So far so good. And now you're going to go to next permissions. Click on next permissions. Remember we talk about ABAC. Who remember that? That's it. Let's see who remember that.
Attribute-based
Attribute-based
Very good. Attribute-based access
access
control.
control.
Very good. Very good. And that's what you're going to see now. So next permissions. So AWS is amazingly complex, actually. Complex in the sense of ocean. If you know the basic step, it's simple, right? So you are coming here. Now you're giving a permission. So we're going to say attach existing policy. Now you say, what is this policy means? So policy in easy language, configurable permissions, configurable permissions. So example, if I say A means you can do certain thing. If I say B, you can do certain thing. So if I say A and C, then you do certain thing. So these are already AWS has configured for us. So example, many of you, sometimes, especially Christmas time, you buy a gift, right? And you get a cup. Along with the cup, you get some packet where you hard coca, yes or no? And that is completely wrapped as a gift. You cannot buy one cup, neither you can buy the packet of coca, right? Hard chocolate. You have to buy it together because it's configurable. Make sense or not? So AWS has configured that. That's the policy. That's we call packet here. They call policy. They have configured 300 policy. How many? 300. If they have configured, then their name is AMS. Amazon Managed Policy. Amazon Managed Policy. So it's Amazon Managed. Who managed? Amazon Managed. But if you do it, custom managed policy. custom managed policies. This is something you do. So when you work in a real field, many times you will use Amazon as is. But there are certain cases where you think your company may have standard and you create your own policy. So you will create a policy in coming days, which I'll cover. But today I'm going to use as is. So far so good? Say yes or no.
Yes.
Now, if one policy that you can use electric, one policy that you can use water, one policy is you can use NICO gas, one policy is you can use internet. So how many policy I have? 4. So if I give you water access, will you be able to access NICO gas? No, because each attribute is different. Do you agree or not? So if you want NICO, then you need another attribute. So sometimes you need to consider what attribute you need. So now let's assume for electric. So electric is one attribute, but in that you have operations. Speak with me.
Operation.
I can start electric, I can stop electric, or I can pause electric. Yes, sir. So those are also permissions. Do you agree or not? If I say I give you permission to electric, so you can just see it, but you cannot turn on the switch, you cannot turn off the switch. So turn on is another permission, turn off is another permission. Remember what, who, where, why, everything is very complex way you can control, which is good thing. So I can say, you Mustafa, you cannot turn off the light. I can say that. Or I can say, oh, you can turn on the light, you cannot turn off the light. So there are different ways I can configure the permission. There are hundreds of permissions. You are not going to learn in one day. You will learn when you're hungry. Then you know what's the difference between pizza, burger, sandwich, and fries. Do you agree or not? You have to be hungry in order to try. And when you try, you will learn. There is no way you will know each and every food in the United States unless you're hungry, right? You have to go to that place, then you will learn. Same thing. In next 10 plus weeks, you will learn a lot more things. But I'm right now hungry, so just connecting. So for time being, I can go here and I can click on attach existing policy. Then it's going to give me 300 plus policy AWS manage. Do you agree? Now, what I want to do. So first thing, I want to say, what is the powerful thing AWS can do? So couple of things AWS does. Relax. Couple of things AWS does. So first, AWS is the infrastructure. It does amazing infrastructure, which is nothing but CPU, memories, network, security, right? For that, there is a service called EC2. Amazon does amazing job for CPU, memory, network, and security. Which service we use? EC2. The second thing Amazon does amazingly well is called storage, which we call S3. S3 storage for storage. Very nice. So these two services, we're going to make this guy permission. Now, these services are just like electricity or water or vehicle, right? So right now, if I want to give all permission to EC2, I can give all, or I can give 1, or I can give 2, I can give 3, I can give whatever I want. But because today is the first class and you are not going to understand all, so I'm going to give all permission. Is that okay? So when I say EC2, if I say electricity, I give you all permission. You can start electricity, you can stop electricity. Same thing, I can say NICO gas, you can start, you can stop. Make sense or not? So how do I do that? So first I know I stands for infrastructure, and the service we will be using is EC2. And what is S3 stands for? Simple storage service. Speak with me. Simple storage service. And that is for storage. So let's start with EC2. So write EC2 and write full. So right away, Amazon say, hey, there is a service available. And I'm going to give check. That's pretty much it. So I give one permission called EC2 full. No, at this moment, it's not. But we are just searching it. We are not really doing anything. So you just write EC2 full and it will give full access. So this is the one attribute we configure. Was it hard at all?
No.
Easy, right? Because we are using console, right? Now let's change this thing. Make sure you check mark it, okay? Without check mark, nothing will work, right? Your form will be rejected and you will be sent it back. So now search S3. Was it hard at all? And check. So how many check I did?
2.
2. Yes or no? You guys are amazingly well. So now I'm going to next. Can I? Right? I just searched S3. Remember, I did not do anything. S3 full, and then I check. Right? And now I'm going to next step. And when I do next tag, it says, do you want to write something? For right now, I'm not going to explain, but in coming class, I'll explain the importance of that. Just to give you an idea, company can write a tag in the sense of certain way, filter out certain thing. So example, when you are traveling somewhere, you will have bag tag, yes or no. And bag tag, you can write whatever you want, right? Your first name, last name, email, phone number, city, whatever your cell number you write. It's your tag. So through that, you search your item, yes or no. So Amazon gives you option the way you write tags. So example, if this machine I'm using for marketing, I can say business division marketing. If I'm using this for my client A, then I can write tag client A. So I can group how many resources I'm using for client A. Do you agree or not? Or how many resources I'm using for marketing. So there are a lot of ways you can use tag. So tag is a great for filtering and grouping. Speak with me. Now I'm going for next. Now when you come here, AWS say, you know what? You are going to create a programmable user which will have access key. I'll explain in 2 minutes. And you will have 2 permissions. Is that okay? Now, AWS does not like username and password. AWS does not like username and password because username and password is easy to read. So what AWS does, when you do programmatic, AWS create a special key for you. One is called access key and one is called secret key. Speak with me. Access key and secret key. So these keys are kind of token. And you can change it. Username and password sometimes are predictable, but at this key are not predictable. And AWS can allow you to create it. So that's why when you want license, you are going to get a key. So when you buy software, like example, you buy software. Recently, I bought a software, Movie Maker, because I want to create a movie for you all. It cost me $100, by the way, lifetimes. But they give me key, and I say, oh, you have programmatical access. So they give me key, because after 1 year they can change the key, or they can discard the key. So they give key, not username and password. Giving key is quite easy. So you will get 2 things, access key and secret key for this user. Make sense? How many permissions this user has? 2. So this user can do almost anything for EC2 and almost anything for S3. I know you don't know too much about EC2. Don't worry about it. EC2 is nothing but infrastructure and S3 is nothing but storage. I'll show you as we go. Now, we're almost finished line. Create user. And when I create user, congratulations, user is created, and this will be shown on the screen. If you are able to see here, your role is to take this thing and copy it, so you don't lose that. So you can see here, I'm going to click here, and I'm going to highlight and copy this part. So this is my access key. I'm going to copy this. So allow me for a second. I'm going to copy this because I will be doing exercise after 3 minutes. So I copy this access key, and I'm going to copy and I copy this also. So I can copy this. Make sense? Remember, you have to copy access key and you have to copy secret. Now, ideally, you can always deactivate this key so no one can do any damage to your machines or infrastructure. So I'm doing this, but later on you can delete this key. So you can always delete that so no one can take that. But make sure you click it, copy this access key, and then copy the secret key. So far, so good, right? You can easily understand access key and secret key. Now, that part is done. So now let's close it. So we are done with the user creation. Was it hard? Give me thumbs up if you think it's doable, or otherwise ask question. Easy? Sorry? What was it? No, means questions? Yeah. So you create a user. This is a profoundly very well done. Why? Because when you're doing CLI, you need a user. So now I have done the user. Now I want you to download one software before we take a break, because I really want to do some exercise, right? So we quickly do exercise. One exercise, at least slowly and steady, we are making progress, right? We row a boat, right? So we are doing exercise. So now, if you go to our what do you call, our Google Class, I gave you something called software to install. I'm hoping you are accessing this material. And there is one thing in a Google Class I gave you, S3Browser. in case if you don't have Google class, in case you don't read, in case you don't read anything, you can search in Google. Go to Google and search S3 browser and download. Just go at Google and do S3 browser and download. Okay, this is the client. This is the client. This client will download. Please understand, this is the client. We will download on our machine. This client needs to access our cloud. Because we have key, remember we have access key and we have secret key, this client can talk to them. So this is called programmable access. Make sense? These S3 browser is a beautiful thing. You may like it, just like your file explorer, just like your file explorer, right? This file explorer, you can see all the folders and files. This is same thing. This is our local machine. In a cloud, if you are storing everything, you're storing in S3. In order to see what did you store and all kind of things, you need a browser. And this is a free. So let's download S3 browser. It may not take a long time to download. So please download. Download and install also. So when you download and install, you will, I already have installed, so I'm not going to download. I already have installed. But when you download and install, you will see S3 browser. Yes, Viral. The question? Viral, any question?
Yes, actually. Is it the same as a storage explorer?
It's kind of, but it's different.
Oh, okay.
It's different.
So you click on download instruction.
Download and install. Download and install. You know this one.
The S3 browser is asking me create a desktop icon for all user or for the current user.
I will help you. Just 2 minutes. First,
Okay.
download and install. Right? This is S3 browser. Right? Download and install. Download and install S3 browser. Once you download and install, I'll help you. It takes hardly a minute or two to download. And once you download, I'll show you how to do that. Don't cry.
Then you click on it, download S3 browser.
Yes, sir. Do it. Most people have downloaded. Mitch, go fast. Download, download, download. Right? We don't want to be parking lot. Right? We should be going to the destination. Right? S3 browser download and install should take hardly a minute. Okay. Now, many of you, when you download and install, you will get a pop-up like this. Okay. So I will show you. So many of you will see pop-up like this. Like this. Oops. Like this. So you will see pop-up. I'm going to use one of the pop-ups. So you will see something like that. Am I right?
Yeah.
Now, what you need to do? Now, what you need to do? Write any name of your choice. You can write. Sorry.
Go back, that's it. Go back.
Yeah. Make sure you see. Remember, I told you always see. Okay. You have by default you will see this packet. Okay. No, you don't have. Sorry. Hello. You have to ask question before you do, because you don't follow them, because I already have 2 users. That's why I'm doing manage. You will be doing this one, because free only allow 2 users. So you will be doing add new account. Okay. Because I cannot do it because it's not a free. So I will do manage. It's the same concept. Now I'm going to do edit. You will have the same screen. Yes or no? Now right here, any name. You can just say S3 user. Whatever you want to write. Write whatever you want. S3 user. The account Amazon storage is like that. Remember your copy access key.
Mhm.
Whatever you copy, remember we copy. You have to paste that. You have to paste that call. Where did you go? Somewhere I got it. Here you go. So you copy this key and then your secret key step by step. So copy your access key here and secret key here, and just do save changes, and you will be done. It won't even ask too much. Make sure you put access key which you copied. Remember we talk about, and the secret key which we talk about. So access key we copy, secret key we copy, right? We paste it here and then save it. And when you save it, you maybe not able to see much, but you will see something like this. You may not be able to see all the folders, right? You may not be able to see all the folders, but you will see something like that. And you're able to log in. Make sense? You're able to log in. In case if you have a problem, ask your neighbor, because there was no step needed. Just adding access key and secret key, you should be able to do that. That's pretty much you need to do. But remember, access key and secret key we created from browser. So if you have a problem, you can ask your neighbor also, or you can see the screen also. There is nothing special I have done. Yes, Hardik.
Tushar, I did the process, but I don't see any folders or anything. It's like completely
Have
blank.
Yeah, it's not, but you are not getting error. Do you agree?
Right, I'm not getting error. Yes.
Very good. That's what the matter, because you have S3 full permission. Make sense or no?
Right.
Right? If you have created user, listen carefully. If you have created user, programmatical user, and you have only given EC2 full permissions, would you able to do this? Answer is no. Yes or no? Because in order for you to connect to S3, we have given S3 full access permissions. Make sense or no? Right? Yes, Evelyn.
So I wasn't able to download it from the S3 like when I search it on Google, S3Browser and the first one and the downloads, all those versions are for Windows. It says open the app.
Yeah, so this is a very common problem, just to give idea. Majority company don't use Mac for such kind of work. And it is like a real brutal, honestly speaking, that they think Mac is more entertaining. And when it comes to professional, Mac has to go through a lot of pain. So there is another way I will show you how you can do Windows. So the solution will be, we have to create a Windows machine in a cloud, and you can do the same exercise in cloud. So you can use your Mac machine to connect to the Windows VM in a cloud, and then you can install S3 and you can do. But so all Windows related operation you may be able to do in a VM instance, which is after break, I'm going to show you. So you can do all work in the instance. But Mac is a very different type of operating system. Not all software will be working on Mac, and that is the reality. So we will show you how to do that through Windows. Right? So Windows user through I can show you that. But problem is I did not write S3Browser. This is written by the client, and these are free. There will be similar thing in Mac, but it's pretty hard to find because Mac is a kind of somehow what you call unique operating system. Not all are using, but Windows is kind of more are using, and maybe that's kind of reason. But once we create a VM in Windows, we should be able to do that. Any other questions? How many are able to connect at least in S3Browser? At least 50%, 60%?
Are you having the same?
I am.
Yeah, good.
Because I'm not.
Right. So the goal of the exercise, in case if you are not able to do, you have to watch recording, because every mileage varies. Because when I'm showing you your operating system differently, maybe your screen differently, the goal of the exercise, I will try my best to draw it and all, but I cannot assure you that all of you will be able to do lab during the class. And that is the main reason I give you recording. So you can watch it, you can pause it, you can practice also at your own pace. So far, so good. So right now, we are in the middle stage, so we need to take a break. After break, we are going to do the similar thing with the CLI. We have not installed CLI. Let me remove. We will be installing CLI. And then in CLI, we will be, I don't need to delete my key, my God, right? Then a little bit trouble. So after break, we're going to install CLI and we're going to use key, and we will do EC2 related command. Make sense? We just did S3Browser. S3Browser, we did it to S3 full access we have. But we can also do similar through another way, which I'll show you after the break. So let's take a break. The lab, don't feel awkward. It's just concept matter. That, hey, how I created programmatical user, right? And then how I use it. That's important. In a real exam, they don't ask any hands-on related labs. So you don't have hands-on lab. Okay, so right now, let's get started. First thing first, I want to make sure you all understand. We are going to install what you call client, but whatever we do, whatever I'm doing in a Windows, you may be able to do once we create the Windows machines. Sounds good or not? So now I want to install CLI. CLI stands for Command Line Interface. Again, the reason I'm asking all this installations and all, because tonight lab will be based on that. So homework, sorry. Your homework will be based on that, which is quite easy. It takes hardly 10 minutes, but you can say, I know CLI, because in interview, people will ask you, do you know CLI? CLI itself is like a pretty interesting topic. It's just like you should know about it, because it will automate, it will help you to automate your task. Now think about long time back, in case if you have studied like a Windows batch file or PowerShell or Linux, those who have studied Linux with me, right? Shell programming, same thing, CLI is like that. It's kind of command line programming, but it's simple, 4 lines, 5 lines will do magic. And you're really not writing a hundreds of line code. And majority code are available by AWS, so it's called recipe. You take the recipe and modify a little bit here, and that's all, you're done. But how it works, that's what we're gonna cover that. So in order for us to cover, first we need to install CLI. Again, it's a Windows base. So let's go to Google Class. Google Class, I put the link here. What do you call? Yeah, you can see here, download AWS CLI. You can see that, but it's always popular to search in Google. So let's search it and we'll go step by step. So I go to Google and relax and try this, download AWS CLI. There are 2 ways people download. One, they download Python, and one you can download for Windows. Now, I'm not a Mac expert, but they do have something about for Mac also, right? I'm assuming those Mac users will be able to figure it out there. But we'll go for Windows, right? Again, these are very popular tools, so I'm pretty positive you'll find tons of document also. But right now, I'm going to say CLI for Windows, and it takes me to this document. And this is like a AWS CLI, right? I put this link in a Google Class just to make your life easy, but download AWS CLI and then click on it. Now, when you click on that, there is a small document and there is a link which you can download exe file. If you click on that, and you can see that there is a link here to install here. So you can see here from the latest release CLI, ASW CLI changelog, or you can say install the past release for CLI version 2, like that. So we can click on the first one, right? We can see if it is available. So we can get that here to install past release for this. I don't want to go here. So let's try here what they're offering here. Just want to click here. So if I click on that, they give me nothing. Huh? Nothing, huh? The changelog, right? No problem. Let me go back a little bit and give me this one. What is that saying here? We are going on a document, right? That may be a reason. Oh, quick setup is there. Let me see if there is a quick setup. That's a setup. This is all configurations. There is my installation. Here you go. Install. AWS install and update instructions are there. Here you go. So they do have Mac one. So click on install and update and scroll down. Mac user may enjoy here because there is a specially provided by. Now if you go click on Windows, and here you go. So you can see they have AWS, this is like that AMSI, which is Microsoft Software Installer. Let's click on it. Doable. When you click on it, you should be able to navigate it. So when I click on that, it started downloading. It doesn't take longer to download. So just click on it, download, and follow the next. Okay. Sorry, Python, right? Yeah, I think, yeah, let's go through that series. So in that case, you may need to install Python. And then in Windows also, I think they will ask. We'll see it. We'll go through one by one. So if I go to here, it is sometimes asked Python. So we can install Python also. So those Mac users, if you want to have Python error, you may want to go to download, right? And then you can say Python for Mac, and you can download also. Again, Python is free also, so you can, in case if it asks, so you can say download Python for Windows or Mac, and then you can go to download Python, and you can download the Python new library, which is, in our case, it is almost Python 3.11. You can download also by clicking. But right now, for me, it did not ask me yet, so I will not try it out. So those who just downloaded AWS CLI, I would rather continue that and see what error it gives me. So double click on it and follow the flow. So when you double click on that, you follow the flow, it says, please wait while the setup wizard prepares. And it will check the space. I'm hoping it should not take more than a few minutes. And it's almost ready to go. Please wait while, yeah, ready to go, right? Now let's click on next and accept the installations and just follow the next. And you're done. Was it hard? Huh? Was it hard to install? Huh? Don't tell me that it was super duper. It's easy, right? So easy. Good news, you don't have to install again, right? It's step by step. It's quite easy, step by step installations, and you're done, right? Give me thumbs up if you are done. Those who are Mac users, if I need to install Python, which I showed you, just follow the next. Like that, right? Yeah, continue. Basic steps, right? Once you go on next, and you're done. This is good news. Lifetime your CLI will work. So it's nice. People on phone, I'm hoping you are doing a good job in installation. If you have any problem, please do let me know or search in Google and find the solution. But normally it should go smooth because they don't have really any special dependency. In case if it asks Python, I know some students have mentioned that it does ask Python. I already have Python, so I'm not seeing any error. But in case if it asks Python, you may want to install Python. In case if it asks, okay. I like CLI a lot, and I encourage you to do CLI because in a real life, most people use CLI. How many ways you can connect to the cloud? 3 ways, right? Web console, CLI, and SDK. So when we use the S3Browser, we use SDK because it's a Python program. Now we are going to use CLI, and web console you already used it because you logged in. When you logged in and then you created a IAM user, that was a console. So all 3 we have used tonight. Comparatively it took longer than I thought, but it's almost done. Very tough.
Mine down. Need to refresh, change, and all that.
I just follow that. It means you might have something. That's what it is doing for me also. No. If you are doing repair, means you're installing twice. So let's not just to cancel, because if you install twice, it may go to repair mode. This space. This is not enough disk space to install the file. Oh man.
How do I find this? So it's version 1 that we installed?
Sorry? Yeah, version 2. Yeah.
Version 1 or 2?
2. I do not have space here. Give me 2 minutes. That's why it's dying. Okay, got it. Oh man, I don't have space. Huh? Which one is bigger? This one? I delete Jenkins. Delete this. Delete this. Delete this. Delete this. So that will be enough. Okay, so let me see if I can install because I'm running out of space. That's what it's trying. So now let's retry. Publishing product informations. Keep going, we're moving back up, almost there. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, if there's only one version, I've only seen version.
It doesn't matter. Just follow what it says. If it is one version, it's fine. If there won't be a difference between 1 versus 2, you won't even notice that. So follow what possible, because it's Windows versus Mac may have differences, whichever version works for you. Now, at this moment, I have installed. So we'll go back to our documentation, what AWS is giving us, which is this one, and we'll see. So they're saying, hey, if you are installed, so you can see here, we have downloaded this and we have installed. Do you guys agree? Now, if you want to see that it worked or not, so we need to write a command like that. Okay. So how do we write command? Let me explain. I want you to pay attention, because remember, I always tell people, make sure you understand, because there's so many small things you're learning. It's not because of AWS Cloud. It is because you have a knowledge gap. That's the reason you are learning, which is a good thing. Don't panic with that. So now this command is on C drive. So you need to write here CMD. Please write CMD. Make sure you see on the screen. Mac user use terminal. So Mac user use terminal, and Mac user normally use terminal. The Windows user use CMD. So when you use CMD, you get a command prompt. CMD command prompt, and you click on it. CMD. CMD stands for command prompt. Mac user use terminal. Now here we will follow the command they are giving. So they are saying AWS space dash version. And you can see right now it is going through the command, and it's going to give us some detail about the version. If we get that, it means we have installed correctly. So I get this. So mine seems like it was asking Python, and it seems like I have Python, but everything looks like it went through, and I do not have any error right now. If you are able to get through, I would say congratulations. You are able to install CLI. Trust me.
What's the command that you type again?
Are you able to see on the screen?
Yes, I'm seeing.
Yeah, that's the one. AWS, right? Space version. There are two dash version. And I came to this one through my starting screen. I wrote a CMD. Remember CMD? When I write CMD, there's a command window shows up, and I click on the command window, and I type AWS space dash version.
Okay.
Right? Now, please understand, we have installed, but this CLI does not know my cloud. Yes or no? So now I need to configure, so this CLI knows my cloud, and we are going to do that steps. Again, don't miss out this thing. This is a golden thing. If you miss out, then you will ask me to go back, and I will not be able to go back, okay? Because you can do one-way traffic. So for that, we need to configure. So if there are commands, otherwise, I always suggest you do Google. Though I know my command is configured, but I just want you to understand. So if I say AWS config or AWS config, like if I write that, so it will give me steps. AWS config. So if I do that, the rest of the thing is step by step. So if I do AWS config, and it's going to give me, so sorry, my mistake, AWS CLI config. So if I do that, it's going to give me step-by-step command, like how to configure. So here, configuring the basics, and we're going to do basic configurations. I want to show you step. Okay. Now, this is the command, AWS configure. Now, how does it work? There are 5 things you need, 4 or 5 things. First, you need an access key and secret key. You have it. We created it. Do you agree or not? And then it will ask you your region. We have region. Remember, we started our journey, and where did it go? Very good. 1 second. Maybe I created. I thought I was in Ohio, right? No? Oh, this is my old one. I think that's why. No, this is my old one. Because I was working, I had a class before class, that's why. This one. Oh, this one, maybe this one. Reload. I would say, yeah, Ohio, right? So we need a region, right? We need a region, we need an access key, and we need a secret key, right? So let's try it. Let's do one by one. Go to command prompt. In case if you do not know how to go to command prompt, repeat again. You search here CMD. And when you search CMD, you have command prompt. Click on it, and you're going to command. Now here, dash right AWS space configure, and press enter. So when you write AWS space configure, it's gonna ask you some prompt. Don't worry about it. If you see nothing here, don't worry about it. Don't compare mine versus yours. It is asking access key. The best way to do is copy paste. So you highlight your access key. Make sure you completely highlight access key like that. Control C. And you just right click here. Don't type it. Right click. Let me repeat again. You highlight it and do control C. And you right click and paste it here. So the way you do, let me repeat one more time. Please understand. After AWS configure, you press enter. And when you press enter, you get an access key, which you already copied. You copy control C. And you go there, right click and press enter. Now it's going to ask you secret key. Same thing. Copy entire secret key, right? Control C for copy and right click. You got the answer. Makes sense? Access key and then you press enter. Now it is asking US ES22 means this is your region. US ES East 2. So if I look for Ohio, what is that one? It is US East 2. So it's by default Ohio is selected. Makes sense or not? So if it is selected US East 2, then we shouldn't be changing that. East 2, which is Ohio, we just need to press enter. We just need to press
ES1.
If it is 1, then you're lucky, you are Virginia. If you want to change, you type exactly like that. Make sure you write lowercase, right? If you're selecting 1, it's the Virginia, 2 means Ohio. So you have to type it and press enter. For my
So
case,
my saying none.
you need to type it. In that case,
Okay.
you type
Okay.
US East 2.
Okay.
You type it. And then press enter. Make sure you keep it lowercase, US East 2, and press enter. So for my case, I don't need anything. And the format, don't do anything, just press enter. I configured my AWS account. Was it hard at all? And congratulations. This is something you do when you start as a cloud operator or cloud engineers. Sorry, what's the question?
For the region, after the region,
Just press enter, enter. Make sure you type your region, US East 2 in case if you don't have. Make sure you type it, press enter. If you want to do again, you follow the same command, AWS configure, and follow that. So tomorrow, if you change the access key and secret key, I'm going to delete this key because I'm recording that. And tomorrow, if somebody want to copy that, I don't want to give them option. So I'm going to delete that. You know what? Because this is a violation, right? We don't want our key to be exposed. So I'm going to delete that key, right? That we will do, even at least I will do before I go home, because who knows, tomorrow somebody use this key and then they create 1,000 machine, I will be paying bill, right? So I will not do it because I give them full access through EC2. Do you agree or not? Yeah. So then we will be in a mess. So don't share this key, because that using this key, they can create thousands of machines because you are giving full access. Do you see the problem? So you need to be secure. Make sure you secure your keys, right? Don't disclose that. But I'm hoping you are doing good. Now I want to see that is there a way I can get my instance? At this moment, any question? People on phone, give me thumbs up if you are doing well. You should have a goosebump, right? Hey, second day or first day, I'm doing so many things. Even though you're not able to do it, you're still able to learn it, right? There are 3 things, right? Understanding, learning, performing, and enjoying. So Any of the stage you are there, you're good. If your stage is boring, this is not my class, I would happy to say, just drop it. There's no need to worry about it. But if you say, hey, this is not that hard, I can do it, then just go for 100 miles. Okay. Make sure anything you do it right. Right. So we configure it right now. Cloud is talking to our CLI is talking to cloud, and that's a congratulations. Now I need to know the command. How do I get infrastructure? Okay. I want to get infrastructure detail. So for that, I do not memorize all commands, but I know Google is my friend. So I'm going to write AWS, check it out, CLI, right? And then I write CLI and I'm looking for instance. So I'll say looking for, let's say, EC2 command, EC2 commands. So you can see I'm trying to write something in Google and try to find help. I encourage you to do so. More you do, easier it will become for you to search it out some problem. So there are some, Google has a very good commands. So there's a command reference. So we're going to use some of the command. Let's go through this one. Looks like here they have issued a command. So I'm going to click on the link. Again, I found from Google, click on it. When I know one command, second command will be easier for me. So you can say, oh, wow, I got a command. Oh, there is a small video there. Okay. And there is a one commands are there. So you can see a creating, displaying an Amazon key pair. I don't need that. Creating, configuring, deleting, that I don't need. Change Amazon EC2 instance type. I don't need that. I want to list out, right? So let me go back for a second. Oh, there was a help here. Getting started. Let's using AWS configure. I don't want configures EC2 instances. They have help here. And I want to list basically EC2 instance. Yeah, here you go. Okay, perfect. You will be doing something homework. Okay, I'm going to give you some hint here. Yeah, this is, I want to do list. Yeah, here you go. So check it out. AWS is the command prompt. EC2 is a service, and I'm looking for these commands. So I want to say, is there any instances in my AWS? I want to describe. So I copy this command. You can type if you want, or you can type. So you can say like this way, AWS EC2 describe dash instances and press enter. So it will go and check, is there any instance in your account? If yes, it will describe. If you don't have, nothing will be described. Because I have EC2 instance, it is going to describe that. You see, it's describing nicely. An entire thing is in JSON. That's called payload. This is called payload. I'll talk about that in a few minutes, more detail. Don't worry about it, what you are getting. But what I'm trying to say that you can now interrogate EC2. So command is pretty simple. Command is you write AWS, then you write EC2, and then you write describe, and there's instances. There is a space between. Are you guys getting something? Yeah. If you're getting something, congratulations. Now you know how to run CLI command. You're able to do EC2. You're able to integrate. In part of the homework, I'm giving you create EC2 instance. Part of homework, I'm saying do this, list this, do this. So you can be able to do your homework. Sorry, your ground is clear where you don't need to run command. And the search AWS, you can see this kind of way I search it. Almost all hint you will find from document AWS provided. You can see all those things in the left. You read it and you try it out. Some command may take a while, like example, do this, may take a while, but that's the whole. You're writing command, you get the result. And all the result you are seeing here, result, it's in a JSON. So this is called JSON. Now you say, what is this JSON? 2 minutes. And you are kind of clear in JSON. So let's spend time. So JSON stands for JavaScript Object Notation. Speak with me. JavaScript Object Notation. It means browser understand. JavaScript, it's a browser language. So browser understand it. There are only 4 rules. How many rules? 4. If you just pair in 4 minutes, you will understand JSON. 4 rules. First, every JSON start with curly bracket and end with curly bracket. That's called start and end. Rule 1 is done. Was it hard? Rule 1, every JSON will have starting curly bracket, ending curly. Rule number 2, if you have a key that will be in double quotation, then you have colon and then you have value. So key, value, and then comma. So example, key, colon, if it is a numeric value, no double quotation, comma. If it is a key, double quotation, colon, value. Make sense? That's the rule number 2. Speak with me, key, value. Clear? Rule number 1 was this one, the start and end. Rule number 2 is key and value. Rule number 3, multiple values. So if it is a multiple value, you write rectangle bracket and then you write multiple value like that, A and then comma B. So this is called list. What do you call? List. So you can see here, this is starting with this, ending with this. Because here, terminating instances, it's a plural. So if you have more than one, it's a list. Make sense or no? So that is third rule, list. If you use curly bracket, it's one item. You have one item. But if you have a rectangle bracket, means you have multiple items. And the last rule is one key can have its own structure. So you can see its structure, starting curly bracket, ending curly bracket. And then your key value, key value. So that's called structure within a structure. So this guy has a structure. You can see here. This key doesn't have a value. Instead, he has structure. Make sense? So the key does not have a value instead of structure. See, this key has a value. This key has a value. But this key doesn't have a value. Instead, has a structure. So why would you do structure? So example, if I ask address, then you need a city, state, and zip. Yes or no? Because address cannot be defined in one value. You need to write address line 1, city, state, zip. So that's a structure. So if I write here address, then you can say city equal to this, address equal to this, city equal to this, zip code equal to this, and country equal to this, or state equal to this. So structure within a structure. So now let's repeat again. First rule, clear. Second rule, clear. Third rule, clear. And fourth rule, key has its structure. Make sense? Now, any JSON in the world you can understand. So let's do JSON, movie, JSON, data. So now I'm going to do like movie data. Now I have a JSON, okay? Relax. Oops. So me view. Come on. Yeah. Can you understand? Yes or no? No. So now don't worry about it. There are always some tools available. So I'm going to do Control A and I'm going to copy that. Now I'm going to go for relax and I'm saying JSON online editor. JSON online editor. Again, these are free. I'm recording the session. You don't have to do it. You need to understand. If there is a problem, there is a solution. Good news about it, you are learning a lot more. Bad news, maybe you did not know too much, but you are learning today. It's a good news. So don't say, so much to learn. It should be excited. The problem is most people will not teach JSON in AWS class. I can give you 100% guarantee. But without JSON, you cannot work in AWS. That's also 100% guarantee. All 4 rules and JSON is clear. But that 4 rule will create a what you call knowledge gap. It means your hand will be tied. Make sense or no? So now JSON online editor. I enter. I found free editor. I click on it. And now I'm going to paste this. I'm going to paste the things which I copied. So I'm going to do Control V. And when I do Control V, it's going to be a lot more there. Relax for a few seconds. And I'm going to say format this. So there have a concept called format. Do you see that? So I'm going to click on format. So it will be English. It will be readable. Oh, let's do open. Yeah. Control V and format. It will be readable in English. It's going to format. I hope so. Yeah. Did it? Awesome. Now, can you say I'm understanding now. Do you agree? If they start with this, what is this? List. If they start this versus this, that's a structure. This is a key value, and then they start these key, and then there is a value is list. Key value is list. Do you agree? Key value, like that. Makes sense or not? So it's not going to be complex. Sometimes it might be a data which is scary, but it's repeating over and over. So if I see here, we should have knowledge of its key and then value. Then there is a comma, key and value. And this key has a list, but list is empty. Make sense? Clear? Okay. Now we have installed CLI very clear. Any question, concern before we move to the next slide? Was it tough? Easy? Now the next lab, which is our last lab, is creating EC2 instance with Windows. For those who are Mac user, you can use this for substitute of your Mac. Sorry to say that, but substitute of Mac, because something doesn't work in Mac, you can use your instance and you can do the work. So like example, I have Windows, but if I want to do Linux work, I created an instance in cloud, and whenever I need Linux work, I use that instance and I can do my work. So we are going to do Windows instance. After we create a Windows instance, we're going to log in, but you have to follow the steps, and then we'll install PowerBI. Why? Because my class is that Saturday, and some student asked me, hey, I am using Mac, how can I install PowerBI? So I'm going to give them gift. And you will also understand you cannot install PowerBI in a Mac, yes or no? But you can install PowerBI in a Windows, and Windows will be in EC2. As long as you have EC2 account, you can access that thing. Make sense or no? So we're going to do that exercise in next 30 minutes. Quite a good time. Let's get started. So let's jump into our AWS console. Let me know if you are here. So if you are in an AWS console, then great. Wherever you are, if you are in AWS console where you can see your region and all, that's great. Give me thumbs up if you're already in AWS console. Awesome. Good. By the way, this time you guys amazingly done a great job in homework. It was so much good job. So Cesar, thank you for doing amazing job last week. Yeah, because now the quality of homework, my goodness, amazingly well. I was superly excited. I want to say thank you. Very good job on homework. And if you have not done homework, I think you should work for your career. Company will only hire if you hire yourself, right? And the only way you hire yourself when you do some homework. So build a muscles, okay? Homework is not hard, right? So let's get continued. In this exercise, first thing first, you are going to search. First thing, you're going to search EC2. So you're going to search EC2, right? Now you're going to search, click on EC2. So far, so good. So when you click on EC2, we're going to follow the same steps. Instead of we're going to select Windows. So it will be quite easy. Now we are here. I'm hoping that you are following me. Now we're going to click on instances. Right? Click on instances, relax and follow. It's not going to take longer. I have 2 instances, but we are not using any of them. We're going to create our new instance. Make sure you see that. So launch instance. I'm going to click on launch instance. And when you click on launch instance, right, we are going to write my Windows machine. So in here, we have Jan 10. So it's a Jan 10. We're going to write any name we can write. So I'll say Jan 10 Windows. That will give me a clue that it's I created on Jan 10 and this is my Windows. Now, as I'm here, I'm going to select Windows. I'm going to select Windows. Make sense or no? Now, by the way, Windows are licensed, but we are going to use free tier, so we are good with it. So you can see Microsoft Windows 2022 base, right? And it's a free tier, so they will not charge me. So far, so good. Now, if I go further, it is saying, hey, you're going to install Microsoft, this thing. And this is your AMI. I'm not going to change anything. It is asking me free tier. I'm not going to change anything. Then I'll go to key pair. Now, key pair, I'm going to use this thing. Make sure you don't forget this. If you forget, then you will not be able to log in. Okay. So let's click on that. And as always, I will create a key pair. So I'll say Jan 10 because I have created key Jan 10, but this time I'll say Windows because this key specifically for Windows machine. Makes sense? Ideally, you should keep a key separately and ring. And we are going to this time, I'm going to keep it this one, open SSH. I'm going to keep it because I'm not going to use putty. So I'm going to use this one. Make sense or no? So Jan 10 Windows. And now we're going to say create key pair, it will download. So that part is pretty good. Now scroll down. Is using VPC by default. I'm hoping that you already have VPC. At this moment, I'm not using any preference and auto assign public as everything is by default for me. And I'm hoping it is by default for you as well. Now, what is this? It takes a lot of time, three plus hours it takes, which I cannot cover tonight. We'll cover that separately when we cover VPC. We're going to create a security group. But in this way, my security group is this. Because we are using Power BI and all, I'm going to give allow. So I'm going to say allow and allow. So this traffic I'm allowing. Remember, it's always a good idea to see your security group. We are creating our security group. Mine is Wizard 5. Might be yours is Wizard 1, 2. Don't cry. That's perfectly fine. Now it's going to give you warning. Hey, you don't do that. Other people will try to access, which is completely understandable. But we are learning. In real life, you will customize it. Custom IP or my IP. That way you can restrict who can access what. But right now, let's keep it 000. Now, hard drive wise, because we are using Windows, we might need more hard drive. Linux 8 GB is good enough. You are not good adding any volume. Nothing is there. So now you can see here we are all configured. Now good to go. Launch instance. So when you launch instance, it may take a minute or two and instance will be ready. You guys are doing amazingly well. I hope so. And when you get this link, click on that and wait for 2x2 success. So much fun, right? Doing this type of thing. And if somebody said this is hard, then you have not seen hard part yet, right? Right? This is not hard. Right? The most hard part is when you don't understand anything. Like everything is hard. Concept. This is concept. And the way we are doing is small lab, right? Like your customer require Power BI to install. So you need a Windows. Because Power BI only works in Windows, so we are creating a Windows instance. And then I'll show you how to do RDP. RDP means remote desktop. So you're gonna do that. So we're gonna do that because in Linux we did through browser, right? Next week I'll show you through putty, and more we'll go through. Now class will baseline we are done. We are able to create user. We are able to create instance for Linux. We are able to create instance for Windows. We are able to configure CLI. So those baseline is done. So now we can specifically zero into particular labs, and lab will be now longer for you. So homework also will be longer for you because we will do case study based lab. Like, hey, this is the problem and we are going to do, right? So that way you can appreciate the services. It may take a minute or two. If you're impatient, just click on the refresh button and it should refresh for you. So right now still initializing, you can have a little bit stretch, 1 or 2 minutes, and it should be done.
Is there a limit of instances that we can?
As long as your credit card has money, you will be fine. As many you want to create, there is no limit until your credit card has a limit.
No, in the free version.
Each time you have to follow the free eligible. If you use free eligible VM, I think it's allowed. But I think if you use more than like a couple of, because after that they have like a two thing. Like one is the hours, and the second is the time, right? Whichever you use max, then they will start charging it. So free, even though they say free, there will be a charge associated because other services are not free. So some services are free, but others are not free. But as soon as we are done with the lab, this lab, we will stop it, and so we will not be charged. If you're okay right now, I think it's mostly done. It's done, right? So I refresh it, mine is done. That's a good, right? Now this is supposed to work for all Mac and Windows user. So I'm hoping that you follow. Remember, it's always a good idea to follow the lab. If not, watch the recording. Recording I'll publish tomorrow. Now I'm going to connect with this. So click on it. Relax. So please understand, there are many ways you can connect. So you can click here and you can click on the connect. So that way you are connecting to the instance. This instance is definitely Windows. You can see name itself says that, and it is 2 by 2 it passed. So let's connect. So when I do connect, it's going to give me options. So that time I'm going to use RDP client because I have a key which I downloaded. So RDP client. So I'm going to click on RDP client. Few more steps and we are good to go. So RDP client, click on that. Now it is saying connect with RDP client. So now it is asking me download remote desktop file. We're going to click on that. Make sense or no? See guys, I'm drawing, I'm showing, and you are doing it easy, right? Click on it. So it will download RDP file for you. So you download that, and when you download that, double click on it and it will give you some kind of box. So when you double click on it, it will open a box, dialog box like that, and you need to say connect. And when you try to connect, it's going to say, what is your password, right? It's going to ask you password. The problem is, I do not know that. Do you?
Yes, the file that we downloaded.
So we need to convert the key to password. Make sense or no? We downloaded a key, but we did not have password. So we need a key. So I'm going to cancel for now. Don't cry, cancel for now. But we need to have somewhere conversion. So there should be a conversion here. If you can see here, if you go a little bit down, get password. Yes or no? Do you say yes? So click on get password. It gives you this type of thing, private key content, or you can upload. So I'm going to upload it because I have my key. Yes or no? So I'm going to upload the key. Are you guys following or no?
Yeah.
Just give me yes, no, so at least I know. So click on that and we'll go to our machine where we have a PEM file downloaded. Double click on it. So when you double click on it, you will get this thing. Don't try to read. You don't have to read. You just say decrypt password. Decrypt password. And when you decrypt password, you get a password. You're going to copy that password. Where did it go? Yeah, here. Copy this password. Make sense? You can click on this. You can click on this also. And I normally keep it handy. So like that, keep the password ready. So password is there. I copy that password, right? I don't want to miss that because if I miss, then I'll have trouble. Now double click on RDP. Double click on RDP. The password is here. Double click on RDP. Now double click on RDP. I'll say connect. And now it's password. Just do Control V, and I'll say remember that. So no, don't ask me again and again. So far so good. Now we're gonna do okay, and it's gonna ask me, hey, you wanna connect? I'll say yes. I'll say don't ask me again, and just say yes. And now congratulations, you have now access to brand new Windows machine. Was it hard? You created Windows machine in less than 1 second. And you can now install PowerBI. You can install S3Browser. You can do anything what Windows people can do. Yes or no? And
Just a quick question.
Quick answer. Go ahead.
Okay. Yeah, after you click on upload a private key,
Then
after you upload the private key,
then what are you gonna do?
then there's the files are open. I got lost. Where do I go from
There is
there?
a button called get password. You click on that.
Yeah, I did that already.
No, there is a button called decrypt.
Okay, so just on the decrypt.
And then there is a password. Now, right now I have machine ready. Do you agree? The machine is step by step is available. It is asking me network. I'll say, yeah, I'll allow yes. So I'm allowing everything. So you can see machine is ready. My goal here is to install PowerBI because I really have students who are using Mac and I want to help them. It will take few minutes. We are done PowerBI, then we'll save it And we're done for the lab. We still have a few minutes to go. Okay. So let it go. Your machine is now having a AMD and all the setup is IP address, public IP address, everything is there. Who cares about right now that I want to install? I can install S3 and I can install Power BI, but my first preference is Power BI because my students want help here. So click on the Internet Edge, or sorry, Microsoft Edge browser. Click on that, and it should allow me to access internet. If it doesn't allow, then I'm in trouble. But because I have enabled security group, it should be fine. So let's see if it allows me. Step by step. You can install even Chrome also. Whatever you want to install. Start without your data. I don't want to continue without this data. So confirm and start browsing. Go, go, go. Yes. So now I'm going to Edge. Now I will be using Google only because I'm not Microsoft Edge fan. Sorry for that. So it's slow because of I'm using internet. It won't be slow in a real life, but because it will, once you start, right now still in starting phase, it won't be slow. So no thanks. I'm in Google. So now if I want to install Power BI, I can say Power BI, right? Desktop for Windows, right? So Power BI desktop. Download Power BI Microsoft. Yes, sir. Right. I can click on that. And I can also install S3 also, but first I'll do Power BI Microsoft BI. And if I go here, then it's a Power BI download. So if I click on download, then it's going to give me options. You want a Windows download 64-bit, which I will be able to download. Come on, come on. Don't cry. What happened with this guy? So let me go to advanced option. Maybe it doesn't like download straightforward. So I'm going to click on that. Yeah, this is good. It's going further. So I use advanced version. Now that's pretty good. It's going well. And now it's giving me options. So if I scroll down a little bit, it will give me options download English. So I click on download English and I select a 64-bit and I say next. And it's download. Come on, thank you for downloading. And he's downloading. You see how fast it is downloading? It's going very well. So it's in few seconds it will be downloaded. It's not that bad because you're using definitely internet based and my machine speed and everything matters, but not bad. So it's downloading Power BI. If you want to download S3, I can do the same thing. I hope
this can be a question that I'm understanding for us too. How can we for newbies? Like now, is it bandwidth issue or is it like
internet? This is internet, mostly internet, because I'm using internet. Right?
So we have so first thing is to increase the
yes, absolutely. Yeah. So like example, in case I want to download S3, you will do the same. Do you guys agree or not? Just say yes or no. Right? Now it's almost downloaded. Now I'm going to open the file. So when I open the file, I can install Power BI. Right? Just open the file or maybe go to folder. It depends on my machine also. It depends on internet. There are so many factors associated. Right? The machine which I use is tiny machine, free machine. So it may not have enough RAM also, right?
Yeah,
so that's the another considerations we need to consider, because when we try to call this type of thing, if you want faster machine, then you will pay for that. So right now you can see I went to the folder where we downloaded and I just want to install it. Just give me a few minutes so I can complete the installation part, and that will complete my third exercise for the day, which is goal accomplished actually. The putty part I'll cover next class, but I hope you understand how labs are conducted. And good news, we are showing step by step. Good news, we are recording. So you will have recording there, and then homework I'll quickly show you. And now I can follow the next, and I can install Power BI. Now, if anyone wants to access, they have RDP file already in their machine. Do you guys agree or not?
Yeah.
You already have saved password. As long as your password is there, you should be able to connect to the machine anytime. So let me just quickly complete that. So right now it's going to install, prepare, and it's going to do next. Once it's done, they're done. So like example, let's say in case if I want to work on my machine, so I can minimize it. I can click here and I can minimize. When I minimize, I'm back to my machine. Computer is working, and you can see tiny shape. This is called remote desktop. In case if I forget about it, I always have this RDP file. Double click on that and I'm back to that machine. Make sense or no?
Yeah.
So even though, let's say if I close it right now, if I do next, I'll show you. If I do next, and I complete that, and it will install PowerBI. Let's say I kind of accidentally, some reason, I minimize and I realize I close it. So let's close for a second, right? Let's say I close it. Your remote session will be disconnected. So I close it, but remember installation is going on server. So I stop it. So that is gone. Now I double click again an RDB file, and now I can connect. So I'm going there, it will show me the installation in progress, right? Because installation going on that machine. So I will be able to see and connect that. As long as your RDB file, you're good to go. So you are not going to lose your machine. So if I'm connecting there, and I should be able to access that. So Power BI will be still installed and process is still going on. Do you agree or not? So that way, even you're disconnected with the internet, you are not losing your data, and Power BI is there. Once you completely install, you're going to stop this instance. So every lab you can use it. So like example, when you start this lab, use the machine just like stop instance, start instance, and then you connect. Yes, Viral, what's the question?
Yes, my question is about the RDP file. Can you recreate it just in case if you delete it by accident?
I think you create. I think you could recreate if you right click. If you can right click on an instance and then say connect, and then you have another opportunity to recreate. So yes, you can create. The only thing you will not recreate is the key which we created. So if you forgot the key, you're done. You're done.
Install say Office 365 on this.
You can do that. Everything. This is your machine. Ideally, Mac user, all my students, Mac user, they all use this way. Why? Because you have operating system problem, software problem, but you use it. And good news, it will work just like a normal Windows user is doing, because it's a full freedom, your admin power, right? So you're done with that. So now if I freeze this machine and next day when I start, it will have a pre-installed Power BI. Do you agree or not? So there is no need to worry about, hey, do I need to reinstall again and again? No, you just freeze it. So once you are done, you stop it. When you stop it, you're freezing that instance. So next time when you start, it will have a pre-installed software. So if I install S3, if I install CLI, if I install Office 360, all software will be there, and then I freeze it. Make sure you remember before you go home, make sure you turn off, not turn off, stop your instance. So you will not be charged, but you will be able to use this machine as extended. The only thing you need is the RDP file to connect. Make sense or no? You guys agree? While it is going through, I don't want to hold you hostage here. While it's going through, I just want to bring you back to our main goal. So do you agree we talk about web service and web application? We talk about payload, JSON. We talk about web applications, web service, microservice. Did we talk about 12-factor app? Awesome. Install AWS CLI, we did it. Awesome. Web console we created. Awesome. We did that. And this is something we'll cover next week. Now, homework, because you guys are doing very good homework. Most of the things I cover, REST service, GET, POST, and all I'll cover in next class. Don't worry about, we talk about JSON and all, and we talk about quite detail about web service and how it works. So we talk about architecture, simple development, flexible. This is what 12-factor app come in picture. So anytime a new application has to be simple to deploy. So that's why we talk about monolithic to microservice, costless, right? Meet performance, security. We talk about all those things, flexibility, easy to deploy, easy to scale. Remember, we talk about some services require more load, some services require less load. We talk about that. And then other aspects are pretty straightforward. Now, homework perspective. Your ideally homework, we should create a group, but because we are still in an early stage, we are not creating group, you may want to do alone. I give you a link here. It has almost all what you're looking for. And then you will be using command. You should be able to use all EC2 instance and then do this. I already showed you how to configure IAM user. Yes or no? You will create a new, don't use the same. You're going to create a new IAM user, programmable user, and create an app key and secret key. And then follow that. Hardly it's going to take maybe 5 to 10 minutes. And 5 and 10 minutes if we cannot do, we have a problem. Do you agree? Right? This gives you idea how it works. That's pretty much it. Homework is not that complex. But next week onwards, I'll give you more complex homework. How about that? Make sense? Now, you all see right now my machine almost ready to install and finish. The PowerBI install, and hopefully that is done. But I want to delete my key. Why? Because I'm recording the session, and if somebody use that key, they can damage my account. So how do I delete the key? So I'll go back, because I, technically speaking, do not need to worry about that. So what I'm going to do, go to IAM, please go to IAM. Because your key is not exposed, my key is exposed, because my key is I'm recording, and many of you can zoom it and type it. Yes or no? Possibility is there. So I'll go to IAM, and first thing I'll see what are the keys we have, and then which I will delete the key, because the key user, I will delete the user. So if I go to user, the user I created, which is today's user. What is today's user I created? John, right? So I created John, and I'm not going to take a risk. I'm going to click on that, and I say, guys, bye-bye. So if I do bye-bye, my CLI will not work. Do you agree? Because that key, but next time I can create a new key and I can play around. Make sense or no? I have installed CLI. The only thing next time, what am I going to do? AWS configure. Do you agree or not? I'll do configure, and I'll have a key, and I'll put a new key. But why would I take a risk? Because my key will be watched by hundreds of users. So I'm going to delete it, right? And then ask, do you want to delete the key? So I'll say, John 10, I want to delete the key. So when I delete the key, I will not have a problem. Now, one more thing before I do, because my Power BI is about to install, right? So the Power BI is about to install, and it's going to be completing. Now, good news, seems like, what happened? Okay. So now, please close the Microsoft, click retry. So I'll say cancel. What is this? Retry. What is the retry? Something wrong, but it should complete that. So let's say example, I'm just going to say ignore for now, and then finish. So this way, Power BI is installed on the machine. What else I was doing installing twice. Maybe that might be reason. So seems like Power BI is installed. But let's say I install now. If I search Power BI, if it is installed, it should be visible. But anyway, that's a simple thing, just like a normal Windows operations. No need to worry. I will go back to, I'll close it. So I'm closing. But first thing I will go is now I'll go to EC2. I'll go to EC2, and I will stop my Windows instance, because that instance I will reuse again and again, but I don't want to pay every minute. So I go to instances, and then I click, first I search EC2 here, right? And then press enter, and then I click on instances. Click on instances. When I click on instances, I have instance, and you click on that, and then you can right click on the instance, and then say stop instance. So next time you can use it.
So it's not going to charge?
No, they will not charge me. So that way I will see. So I'm stopping the instance, and they will be fine. So make sure you stop instance correctly, and make sure you post stop and stop successfully. Good. And that's all for today.